And welcome everyone to the grand finals of Final Fantasy V Career Day 1.0 randomizer tournament between Garlyle and FrancoiseHarpie. Joining me on commentary today, I've got two people. One is a special guest, the creator of the randomizer, Clear Tonic.
Hello, everyone. Happy to be here.
And also our friend of experience here on the channel, Malcrios.
Hello, everybody.
Mal is finishing up a little bit of work, and he'll be joining us very, very soon. I just want to give a little background going in here. Even though this is the grand final, it's a double elimination tournament, and Francoise has swept through the winner's bracket, has not lost a single match, has won 4 games in a row to get to this point. On the other side, Garlyle is the people's champion. I saw someone in chat call him that. He lost relatively early, but has fought his way back through the loser's bracket and has actually won a total of 6 games to get to this point, and needs to win this match and the next match in order to take the championship. So even though this is the grand final, this may or may not be the final match in the tournament. So very exciting storylines going on here. And let's see, what else do I need to mention before we actually get started? I've forgotten. I think we're good to go. Unfortunately, I don't think we have any sort of pre-made bracket to change and add details to this. You just have to, I guess, pay attention to what I'm saying as we go. And we're off. The race has begun. I see both runners are just about to raid Castle Tycoon.
All right. Now I did adjust my microphone. Hopefully it's not quite as loud for people.
So for people who aren't familiar with this randomizer, maybe you haven't watched previous games in the tournament, this is a very standard opening. There's a lot of loot here in Castle Tycoon. By the way, the starting job that both racers have is a trainer, also known as Beastmaster or Mediator. That is a really interesting job. I wouldn't call it a super high tier job in terms of what it can do for you, but it can do some really unique things in the randomizer, and I'm curious whether our racers might take some advantage of that. Question from chat. Oh, wait a minute. Torna Canal. Darn it, I missed the hint. Something about Torna Canal.
4th tablet.
Oh, 4th tablet. Thanks, Clear Tonic. Someone asked, are they supposed to be moving that fast? And yeah, basically Thief speed is on by default. You just press B, actually, I should say, and you can dash as Ninja Crystal and a ribbon, some good stuff in the castle.
Yeah, that is a feature
Ragnarok
of the
at the Sildra spot, which is going to be really nice if you can find a way to use it, either by finding the night job or the equipped swords ability.
Yeah, the move speed is a feature of the randomizer, which is not part of vanilla, that has that default built in
you
for
might
all
also
characters.
notice that one of our runners just used the warp shard and went to World 2. In the flags that we're using for racing, World 2 is open from the start, and there's a lot of good stuff in the shops and also the sealed castle that our runners use sort of as a starting kit to really get going fast for the racing. Oh, sorry, Mal.
Right, so FrancoiseHarpie going into Castle Circuit, getting their tip there, their hint, which will lead them to say Submarine Key is in World 2. Oh, sorry, I'm a little behind. I was looking at the wrong screen. I better move that to the right place. My apologies.
I heard you there, Mal. You said sub-key World 2. Where was that hint?
That was in Castle Circuit.
Thank you.
Do you guys want to talk about the like the win condition?
Sure. Yeah, again, for those who are unfamiliar, maybe haven't seen this type of race before, you need to gather all 4 tablets in the randomizer to open up the way entirely to through the void and to fight at the end of the game. In vanilla, you don't actually have to get all the tablets, but that is a requirement of the randomizer, and the racers have all been given the first tablet for free. Again, that helps you pick up good things in the sealed castle. 3 good things. You get 3 things for every 1 tablet that you collect out of there. And again, they open up the way to the end. So that's basically what we're looking for here is a race to 4 tablets. You also have to get a couple other key items at minimum to open up World 3. And then those 4 tablets will let you progress through the void all the way to the final fight.
I can talk a little bit about the kind of the design of this. So
Yeah.
the idea was, you know, in vanilla, right, you start in World 1 and then you go to World 2 and World 3, and it takes a while. But the idea of this whole randomizer was to say, can we allow the player to go freely between worlds? So if you just gave the player World 3 access, they would, with the airship, be able to go straight to the final dungeon. So we had to come up with some arbitrary system to say, like, okay, we don't want the player to just immediately go to the end game. So that's where the 4 tablet system came in. So I think between that and, right, as Garlyle was saying, you know, if you're based on your settings, you could have it such that you only have access to World 1 and 2, or just World 1, and there are some key items that block progress such that you have to prove that you're strong enough to get through the game. Basically, in a nutshell, the idea is that if you abstract a randomizer, you don't want it to be completely free form, and you want the player to kind of prove that they're doing X, Y, or Z in order to be powerful enough. So 4 tablets is kind of the way around that for the end game.
Excellent. We've been getting some hints, some of which I saw and some of which I missed, unfortunately, because they were simultaneous. I saw something about the Karnak meteor being on the path to the void, which is a great, useful hint. And Freddie in chat, thanks for your help, is saying second tablet is in World 2. I think that might have been the library hint.
Checking the sealed castle.
The hint system is really interesting. We'll go over it shortly, but we want to take a look at these sealed castle options because it's pretty important what you pick here most of the time.
All right. So there was Francois was picking in the Holy Lance, probably hoping to be able to use that against X-Death, seeing that X-Death is weak to holy damage.
Yeah, I noticed also that Holy Spellblade is there, which is possibly another option you might look for, but this isn't looking like a great... Oh, did he take the Phoenix summon? Is that what he chose?
Yep.
That's
looks like
surprising.
that. Looks like, yeah, he took some Phoenix.
If you wanted to stay with Trainer for a while, that Dragon Whip isn't bad. It has the ability to inflict paralysis on targets that are vulnerable 1/2 of the time. But that's a rough one. I also see Ninja, which is a really nice starter job if you can find some cheap things to throw, like scrolls and javelins. Ninja can do a lot of work in the early game, just with those things, and they're very inexpensive if you can find those things in the shops.
right, Garlyle heading over to Walls. It's funny to see how both runners going into drastically different approaches. Francois ended up going to do some of the World 2 checks right away. Meanwhile, Garlyle doing the World 1s.
Yeah, it all tends to even out. Ooh, chemist available in the shop. Good move by Garlyle to sell the Kaiser Knuckles and get some money, I would say, to buy chemist there, or at least to note where chemist is. I do see flame scrolls also for sale in this shop.
Now, for those unfamiliar with the randomizer, chemist is one piece of the puzzle for an easy endgame where you want to be able to gill toss which is a samurai skill, and then up your own levels up to the maximum level in order to be able to get, or close to the maximum level to get maximum amount of damage with your gill tosses to just easily take out the final boss. There are other ways to adjust your level, but the chemist's mixability definitely makes it easier, and it allows you to do some other manipulation of enemy levels as well if you're going with different strats.
Yeah, chemist mixability is really powerful, and the materials, a lot of them, are very cheap, like Antidote and Revivify are really cheap things that you can find in World 1 shops, and those are the ingredients that you use to off your level by 10 at a time. So Moogle Suit World 3. Interesting hint. I missed that one before. Moogle Suit is not a key item, but it is a great loot pickup location. I believe it's all highest tier loot that you can get there. Seven pieces of loot in the Moogle village.
I can talk about the tiering system for a minute.
Sure.
So when you think about a randomizer for a lot of games, like if you think about like a Zelda game or something, often it kind of feels like things are just kind of randomly placed from wherever. But I think specifically for RPG randomizers like this, we had to come up with a tiering system such that there was kind of logical placement around where rewards would get based on how far into the game, right? So if you're in the early part of the game, you would expect to maybe not get the highest level stuff, but if you're in the end game and you're in later into the game, you would expect to get like more and more better stuff overall. Now there are opportunities for that to kind of fluctuate, but right, so the Moogle Suit is a key item that allows you to get to an area that has very high tiered goods, which is like a reward for having that key item in the first place. So the general gist is, as you progress through the game, even in its abstract nature, you get more and more better stuff, and if you have certain keys, then you get access to even better stuff. So that overall, you kind of have like this, as you're going through the randomizer, you get more and more progression rather than just feeling like from the get-go, it's completely random.
Excellent explanation there. I just want to point out that Garlyle, having beaten the boss of the Wind Shrine, got the bracelet, which is a really important key item that is required to fully open Exdes Castle, which is required to unlock World 3. So that's a really nice find to get at your first boss check. And Francoise is headed to the same place, about to do the same thing. Let me also mention that Garlyle's taking we've got very different strategies happening between the two racers. Francoise is going ninjas, which are fast. Garlyle at least was going with all chemists to try and train up those chemists to learn mix. And I see now that he's switched back to all trainers, so I'm going to guess that he's already done and has learned mix on everyone. I didn't actually see it, but I'm guessing that's what just happened.
Alright, so Garlyle heading over to the canal where we know there is a tablet there.
Yeah, gosh, this is a nice this is shaping up pretty nicely early on for our racers to get it looked like 4 chemists to me on screen when during the last boss fight. But anyways. The Artemis bow, which was picked up in here in the Wind Shrine, is a great thing to use against Carbuncle because Carbuncle is a beast, and the Artemis bow always does effective damage when it hits those magical beasts. Ooh, and there it is, the 4th tablet at the canal.
Fantastic. Now, with these race settings, our racers started with access to the first tablet already, which is what gave Francois access to the loot and the items in the sealed castle. So finding another tablet will give them access to another 3 items. Unfortunately, the sealed castle didn't have anything particular value, so they may not prioritize going back. Though I can't recall if Garlyle has actually already been.
I'm not sure either. I was a little distracted earlier, but I was going to ask you, Mal, whether you would head to the castle again for a second time right away, or whether you would put that off for a little while, if you were the one racing here.
I would probably put it off for a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. If you get something like Magic Sword 6 or Mystic Knight, then you would want to go get Holy Spellblade, but otherwise, a lot of the stuff in there wasn't that great.
There's definitely some easy... Yeah, I wouldn't return to the sealed castle. It's just, there's nothing too much of value to get me to go back, unless I happen to come across Magic Sword to be able to use the Holy Magic. The Holy Sword.
Ooh, Minotauros.
But speaking of Holy Magic, Minotauros here.
In this spot, I'm pretty sure he actually cannot, he doesn't have the MP to cast Holy. Which is
cannot
nice.
Cast Holy, the Magic of Strength. We will see its power if only he had enough MP.
Yeah, see, the randomizer scales his MP by location. So if you're familiar with him in vanilla, he doesn't have the MP at Fork Tower to cast Holy, but in the randomizer, he gains enough MP after maybe the 4th boss location, from lowest to highest, and then he can cast Holy on you. So that's another thing to watch out for. Walls Tower Key World 1. I think that was mentioned, that was found before, but I did not see it. That might be something that our runners happen across and then check. Otherwise, it's the Walls Tower is gated by that key.
I believe I just saw Garlyle pick up the love song in preparation in case they get access to sing and have to go up against Bahamut.
Yeah, there's some really interesting uses of the songs in this. Second Tablet World 2, I think I already got that one noted. The songs are a little bit niche use, but they can be really good, really good in the right situation.
All right, Francois making his way through to the canal. Will then himself get his tablet 4.
Garlyle shopping Surgate Castle. Sees Hunter available. Don't think he bought it. Maybe he did, I'm not sure. But this is a spot. Yeah, Shoat is something that you like because it's an instant kill spell. But I don't think that either of our runners have Summon 3 and could actually use it yet. But I would just buy it and hope.
That seems to be what Garlyle is going for after doing all this selling, trying to desperately to reach 8,000. And there we go.
Yeah, and if Garlyle sticks with the trainer, that early flame whip can come in handy at times too. In the vanilla game, it's a legendary weapon. It has a 1/3 chance to proc fire 3 on attack, But in the randomizer, it's really only sort of mid-tier in terms of usefulness. There's a good number of enemies that are weak to fire, but the random chance of the prog and the relatively low magic stat on the trainer job makes it just okay. And it's placed appropriately. It's fairly common to find it even in World 1. Clear Tonic is here with us. If people in the chat have questions, I just saw Haste 2 picked up. I must have missed that earlier, but that could come in really handy later.
That's definitely a nice pickup.
No, I know you guys are trying to commentate, but yes, if anybody has any, design or development questions about what Caeruleus and I, who is the co-creator of this, what we did together to create this, happy to answer.
Yes, let's give shout outs to Caeruleus, who is handling sort of the server side and web-based things related to the randomizer as well. Big force behind this randomizer for sure. Yeah, with all this stuff happening.
Francois was getting killed by Carbuncle. Unfortunately, did not have the attack damage to be able to take him on.
Unfortunate. So that's a little bit of a hurdle that he needs to overcome that Garlyle has already passed. Like I mentioned before, Ninja is a great starting job, but you really do need some good things to throw with it. Or, just a strong weapon. I see he's got equipped swords now and has Ragnarok, so that's one way to get Ninja going as well. So it should be okay. Garlyle doing finally his first check of the sealed castle at just under 20 minutes. Is going to be a bit disappointed here, but let's see what he ends up taking. Yep, X Magic is good. For people who don't know, that lets you cast 2 spells in a row.
It also gives you access to all black magic and white magic spells up to level 3.
Yeah, some really
by
nice
level 3 we mean
spells.
the skill level 3, not necessarily cure 3.
Right, yeah. Those spells go up to things, they cover things like Sleep and Charm and Cure 2 and Bolt 2. There's quite a few useful low-level spells, so it's not hurt to have
grabbing the Holy
free
Sword.
access to those. What sword was that you said, Mel, that was grabbed?
The Garlyle ended up taking the Holy Sword with his second round of picks. Quick magic.
Yeah. He's got 6 things, right?
Thinking on the Dragon Whisper. Or Whisker.
Yeah, you pluck that whisker from Shinryu is how you get that weapon in vanilla. But in the randomizer, some of these really rare steals and things pop up a lot more often for you. So you get to have fun and use the best whip in the game from pretty early on.
So, question about plans, ideas. We'll talk a little bit later about it, but the short answer is yes.
Yeah, this whole tournament is sort of a celebration of the 1.0 release of the randomizer. It's been around for, I guess it's been at least a couple of years before that point. But we finally got
a little over
momentum.
a year.
A little over a year, okay. But we finally got enough momentum in the community to do a tournament. IB Karma in the chat sort of pushed us in that direction and has tournament experience, and it's been a great thing. The community really sort of came together to make this happen, and everybody's having a lot of fun and contributing in the form of tracking, commentary, restreaming, and any other sort of behind the scenes work that needed to be done.
Yeah, it's great. I come from a speedrunning background, and I always hoped that this would kind of get a racing fan base, I suppose, right? Because, I very much, as I was designing elements of trying to speed up and make it playable, is that I wanted it to be such that you can kind of roll seeds and race. So it's really nice to see kind of like a tournament supporting this idea.
Absolutely. This is a really fun. Ooh, let me just mention Francois resetting out of I believe that was the Shiva fight, Shiva location fight, because Omniscient is there and he doesn't really have any way to one-shot Omniscient or mute him or anything. So, actually doing a little bit of grinding here on Black Flames. If you throw a scroll, they die immediately. And this is a bunch of experience and ability points that you can get very quickly.
Ooh.
If you can get a turn in, learning Dark Shock free is always nice as well.
Always great tool if you have blue
that.
magic and you want to do some level manipulation. Dark Shock halves your effective level, or also the enemies. But due to the way that the maths happen on this, any odd numbers are halved to the lowest number. So dropping
you can think of it as rounding
decimal
down or cutting off the decimal. Yeah.
So it allows you to try to get your levels calculated properly in order to be able to do some level 2 or level 3 magics with blue magic.
Yeah. On the other side, Garlyle taking on Magisa and Forza making a rare appearance. Oftentimes you kill Magisa before she can call him in the randomizer, but this is a good spot for a bunch of experience, the Waltz Meteor. As you can see, Garlyle just got a bunch of levels. I was going to say, Clear Tonic was talking about the development and racing. I just want to say that it's possible to go quite fast in this randomizer. It's hard for us to keep up, especially early on. There's so much going on. But as a player, if you like to go fast, a lot of things have just been nicely streamlined. So there's a lot of, the warp shard itself just completely spoils me. And just go to whatever world you need to go to, just like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the general idea is that in RPGs, kind of that early slog of starting a new game and getting into not doing all that much for quite a while, and you slowly ramp up, is kind of an experience that I wouldn't want to have in a randomizer like this. So typically the first few bosses are kind of easy, you get some good gear, you get moving, and the idea is you kind of hit the ground running as quickly as possible. Like you said, it's a little overwhelming with all the options you have and all the hints you have to get for the purposes of like a race. But I think, as you see here in this race too, it's like within 20-30 minutes you kind of have like a general game plan of what you're doing, and that's the goal, is that it doesn't take too long to kind of just start going.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. The vanilla speedrun of Final Fantasy V does really take a while to get going. I feel like over half of it is probably in World 1.
Oh, yeah.
With just, sitting through long cutscenes and doing a lot of the early game stuff that just takes a while.
I, in fact, did not program Lena to get hit more. That's just Final Fantasy V.
Yeah, that's a myth. Lena having the lowest hit points of anyone kind of makes her go down the easiest, so that might be what people are seeing. That's just how it goes with her. But honestly, I haven't really noticed that. Some people are always talking about. Lena laying on the ground is sort of a meme, but that actually comes from the vanilla game where she just takes a lot of extra plot hits.
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
say
She's
by
poisoned. She's dead.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Garlyle about to check the Brave Blade chicken knife spot. This is a a spot in vanilla where you can only have one or the other, and it's true also in the randomizer, except that of course the 2 pickups are randomized. He grabs the Hypno Helm and he's happy with that. That could come in handy for the trainer, because the trainer likes to potentially control enemies. So maybe you actually hang on to that Hypno Helm in this case.
Mm-hmm. Now, one of the potential end-game tools that they could use having trainer would be if they end up using the submarine to go to the barrier tower. There are some monster in the boxes there, which the yellow dragons, which can be captured to do quite massive damage to the final boss, and to all parts of the final boss as well. So it'd be interesting to see if those strats come out today.
I enjoy using the trainer quite a lot playing vanilla. In the randomizer, I have to say that a lot of those capture strats have kind of been abandoned because it takes time to capture the right enemies. But under the right circumstances, it could work out pretty nicely. Maybe Garlyle has been sticking with this job for a while, so we might see some of those strats out of him, and that would be really interesting. For example, you can take out Castle X Death really, really fast if you get 4 of the right catches. You can do it in 1 turn, 1 round. Each of your characters taking 1 turn, and he can be dead. But it just takes a little while to actually get those catches. So there's a trade-off there in terms of time spent versus speed of the fight. Oh, Go-Go free fight at the Bal Castle gate. Any team can win this fight because you do nothing. You just are patient and wait, unless you can do a bunch of damage all at once and actually one-shot Go-Go, which is even faster. But it looks like Garlyle's going to wait this out. This is a situation where you might even consider resetting, changing your job, and getting a bunch of ability points, because Go-Go gives lots and lots of ability points wherever you find him. That's true from chat, someone mentioning any party except a Zerker party, because if the Zerker attacks Go-Go, then he gets mad, he attacks back, and he really hurts. So that's a good point. Zerker parties are not so happy to see Go-Go.
Certain runners that do favor bow-wielding berserkers may struggle when coming up against Go-Go. I'm not pointing fingers.
Yeah, there's a number of people in the community that favor the bow Zerker strat. And if you run into Go-Go, you gotta put that Berserker down quick, or else you're gonna ruin the fight. It might cause a reset. This is Bal Castle Gate, where Go-Go is located.
Oh, another note, just for quickly on design side of things. So in the vanilla game, bosses don't give experience points, right? So we had to come up with the curve of trying to normalize a playthrough such that you would be around level 32 if you fought all bosses through the end of the game with 4 times EXP on. I think that's something some people may take for granted watching this, is that you usually get your experience through fighting random battles in vanilla FF5, and bosses only give AP, but that's not the case here. We wanted to make it so you're not fighting random battles, but you do get experience points.
That's one of those interesting things about the vanilla game, is that bosses generally don't give experience, and you get your experience from random battles instead. But in the randomizer setting, if you're trying to go fast and you're basically want to kill only bosses, then the curve works out. And yeah, we're on default 4x experience. That is also an option that you can change in the config. In terms of going fast, it just works out really nicely to go everything on 4x.
Yeah, I felt like that felt like good enough progression.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're definitely not overpowered. Sometimes if you get to the void very quickly, Tycoon Meteor Steamship Key hint. Let me write that down real quick. Which we already knew that because we just got the Steamship Key from Tycoon Meteor. That might mean that checking the steamship might be something our runners actually do, with it being lightly hinted at.
Steamship Key giving you access to 2 key item checks, the steamship itself and then Karnak Castle in behind it. Oh, I just noticed slash in shops.
Yes, indeed. That's something you want to pick up because that's a potential instant kill on non-heavy targets, and any job can just equip that ability and potentially use it. I also see blue for sale in this shop. The ability to cast blue magic can been very handy. And we see Francoise has now run into Gogo and is going to probably do the same thing that Garlyle did, which is just wait it out for a couple minutes. You would like to one-shot Gogo and make his fight much faster, but there's 2,500 hit points at the Bal Castle gate here, and I don't think that we have anything that is quite strong enough to take him out in a single attack. Or
yeah, unfortunately, with our players' current levels, they would not be able to take him out in one shot. So instead, they have to wait out the 2 minutes or so before he realizes that you've mastered the mimic skill and decides to send himself over to Final Fantasy VI.
There is the, I don't think anyone bought Dancer or has Dance equipped or anything, but there is a small chance that if you got a Sword Dance, you could potentially, using that Ragnarok and another weapon, that a ninja could one-shot with a Sword Dance, could one-shot Gogo, but I don't think we really have that set up on anybody. So, other than that, I'm not really seeing any way to kill Gogo quickly. Garlyle is going to Hear You Valley, which is sort of it's an ungated World 2 boss check spot. It's typically a spot that you might raid early for its loot, and then hope that you can take out the boss. And so I think that's probably what Garlyle's doing now. There's a nice save point just before the boss. There's been some nice spells along the way. I saw Bolt 3 at least, if not something else.
I do enjoy, I do enjoy doing that climb early on because of all the good items in that Hear You Valley.
I think that Garlyle maybe was putting it off because he felt like he didn't have any good instant kill options, but now that he has picked up Slash, maybe he's hoping this can be a quick fight. Well, you can slash Twin Tanya if you can survive for 5 turns, or you can use that Artemis bow, but unfortunately this spot has a lot of hit points. I don't think I would use the bow. I would actually just try and just endure and then slash him, or her.
Yeah, just try to wait it out until Twin Tanya starts charging her Giga Flare.
And a little unfortunate on the revive there. Gonna reset and maybe try again. Let's see. See if Garlyle goes for it. Is everybody in the back row or different skills? Okay, gonna put Slash probably on everybody. Yeah. You can also level 5 Doom Twin Tanya when she's at the weak point, but pretty sure we don't have that spell. It's something that you could pick up though and learn quite easily in the library in World 1.
Yeah, they would just
if
need to
you took
gain
the
at
time
least
to
one
do
more
it.
level. Preferably not on everybody, as they would all level at the same time and get level 5 doomed, which would be a problem, unless one of your characters has a vault ring to
Good
reflect
point
that
now.
doom back to the
Yeah.
book.
Don't want everybody on the same level for learning level 5 Doom, or else, well, that would be a party wipe. So, good point about that.
You learn something. You learn a valuable lesson.
Francoise is going into the steamship, so chasing that hint and 2 checks. It's a little bit slow getting through the ship itself with all of its twists and turns and elevators and things. But then bosses should be easy, and the looting from Karnak Castle is actually pretty good too. So I think this is a good call.
Yeah, again with the item tiering system, Karnak Castle is not that significant of a location, but the monster in a boxes, the 3 different monsters in the boxes there can drastically boost the item value.
Unfortunately, Garlyle's slash missed. Oh, but the second one hit. There you go. Okay, so instead of getting Giga Flared because the bosses are scaled by location, Twin Tonya only did single target flare. So Galuf went down, but Garlyle wins the fight. And let's see what reward is given. Another flame
And
whip.
another flame whip.
A lot of those are appearing so far in this seed.
Putting those trainers to work.
Yeah, it's an interesting strat to use the trainers so much. I hope it pays off because it's interesting and it's something you don't see too often.
Ooh,
Francois
Stalker is
taking
on
on
the steamship.
Stalker. Nobody really likes to see Stalker, but at least it's in a low hit point, relatively early location where the fight should be very easy to win. In fact, I think Francois
That's
has
it,
already
especially when he
won.
makes the proper guess right away.
Yeah, that was first attack is free. It always hits the right target, but then Stalker randomly picks one of its 4 spots to be the real one, and Francois picked that one right. Let's try. He
Shrine
gets
page.
The shrine page. Interesting.
Yes, I believe whips can be dual wielded.
Sure. I mean, if you have the 2-handed ability, or if you're a ninja with equip whips, you can dual wield whips.
So first monster in a box. In Karnak Castle, you just encounter either a pair of sorcerers, a sorcerer with some wolves, or Gygus, I believe.
Yeah. Black suit is
So
the
black
best
suit.
mage armor in the game. That's a nice monster in a box find, high tier find. Also, the ninjas with their scrolls can just one-shot these monster in a box encounters, so they should be over very quickly. Meanwhile, Garlyle taking on the Guardians. This is fortunately, I assume this is a meteor location. Shouldn't be too hard to win. You can slash them, but the chance of it hitting at this low level isn't super high. I think that Garlyle has enough power from his bows and whips that just, and swords, that regular attacks will work too. Karnak Meteor, thank you. Thank you for the chat and the info.
I'll talk a little bit about boss scaling. Oh, 3rd tablet, nice. Yeah, so boss scaling is a little like simpler in concept than it is for actually developing, right? Because you're like, oh, the boss shows up earlier, so it's gonna have maybe Ice 2 instead of Ice 3. But all of that stuff had to be kind of like manually done for every individual location. Every boss at every individual location has its own AI script change to have specific moves. So you saw Flare on Twin Tonya before, right? Usually it uses Giga Flare. There's examples of that on literally every combination. So it's pretty complicated.
Yeah, and that's what's that effort that you put in is, I think, one of the great things about the randomizer, because scaling is so interesting and unique. If you're familiar with the vanilla game, you don't necessarily know what some of the scaled up or scaled down abilities of the bosses might be. They are fair, and they sort of make sense in terms of like power or elements from the original boss. So yeah, you've got like 50 unique versions, or roughly 50 unique versions of every boss, depending on where you find them.
Yeah.
We've sort of learned those things just from playing the randomizer a bunch. You're like, oh, you don't have to worry too much about, say, early Bahamut, because he'll only maybe single target flare you instead of mega flare you as he does in his vanilla form.
Sure,
but it
yeah.
also makes certain bosses a little bit extra tough that maybe thought you'd expect might be a little easier, because they've got just the ability that you don't want to see at a certain point when you run into them.
Oh yeah, like late game shoot, can't sleep on it.
Oh yeah, that's a rough one for sure. Garlyle taking on a panda and getting a nice Fire 3 proc from the Flame Whip. In fact, both runners are taking on a panda at the Moogle Waterway location. Garlyle through the fight pretty easily. Let's see what Francoise has to take him on. I don't think Francoise really has the fire. Ooh, Elder Branch is the reward from that spot.
You hate to see it, but you love to see it. Elder Branch giving you access to the Mua Forest. Can potentially give you a key item there. Unfortunately, it could also be spelling a hint of the unfortunate Fork Tower.
Well, from what I can gather, let's see. Garlyle has 3 tablets, and we have a hint saying that the second tablet is in World 2, which means that Fork Tower would not be required in this seed. But the Moor Forest might be required, and Garlyle is now doing that location. So those of you who wanted a Fork Tower seed, sorry to disappoint you. A lot of people were clamoring for that early on. I think Fork Tower has sort of been like the suffer location in the randomizer, because you have to go in with only 2 characters and you're blind what the bosses might be. But it doesn't always turn out to be suffering. Sometimes it's 2 easy bosses. It's just when you have a combination of needing to go there and having to do a rough boss fight that people tend to fade that location as long as they possibly can because of fear of it.
Garlyle backtracking a little bit to go get a chest that he had left behind. The Mua Forest or Moor Forest, whichever you want to call it, has quite a significant amount of chests in the different zones. 2 in the first one, 3 in the second one, 4 in the third, and then 3 again in the fourth.
Francoise trying to take on the Crystal Guardians. We know that this location, if he can win, gives the 3rd tablet, which is really nice. And Garlyle's going to save, get outside the forest and go back in and take on what can be a pretty difficult boss location for World 2, because there's over 31,000 hit points there. So we're hoping for something easier that's instant killable, maybe with Slash, something like that, but we'll see in just a moment what that's going to be. One interesting thing on Francoise's side is attacking with the Holy Lance. The Crystal Guardians are actually immune to Holy, so that will always miss. But Elf has another weapon in his other hand, so at least he can do a little damage with that. Ooh, Atmos. Now this is where you wish that you had picked up that level 5 Doom, because you can Dark Shock Atmos and cut its level in half, and then it becomes susceptible to level 5 Doom. But you can also just let Lena stay on the floor and attack and run through all of the hit points. Ooh, slow 2. The rare slow 2 is not fun. Don't like to see that. that means that maybe Atmos will be able to suck in Lena and more people, and just slows down your ability to win this fight quickly. Swaz is headed to the catapult location. You have to go through the ruined city and through the ruins and pop up on the other side of the world, so it's a little bit convoluted to get there, but that's the case in vanilla too. So in just a moment, we'll be taking on the boss, which would be Crayclaw location in vanilla.
Yeah, I find this is a catapult is often a check that might be put off a little long, but it also gives you 2 easy key items ultimately. Like in the end, you get one from the catapult, and then it unlocks the Lanka Meteor for another quick fight.
Yeah, it's a nice, easy check, only 2,000 hit points. So you're pretty much never going to lose this fight unless you go there super, super early.
Yeah. I think it's easy to think about World 1. There's 4 meteors, let me do those, but it's easy to forget that you have to get this. Basically, this event in vanilla happens before, so Crayclaw is like an easier boss than them.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I would say that in the randomizer, people do favor doing the meteors because they are so quick to access. This is really the only extra step that you have to do to get at the last meteor. And Adamantite.
Adamantite from Crayclaw.
Hmm.
Giving us access to the Flying Lanka ruins for 2 more additional key item checks.
Yeah, so I'll jump in quickly. Just so on the key item front, right? So in vanilla, there's a lot of you kind of take your key items in vanilla kind of for granted, right? You just sort of play the game and it doesn't really matter. So abstracting them for the randomizer is a pretty big deal. You don't really get the adamantium as a part of like making a decision with it in vanilla. But for this, it's like we want the player to specifically have airship access to that upper area where Lanka Ruins is when they get the adamantite or adamantium. So there's a lot of examples of that. As you go down the key items, you think like in vanilla, like, oh, I don't even think when I get the branch or the bracelet or whatever, it just sort of happens. But that abstraction was like a really big part of designing the early part of how key items influence the player getting through the game.
Yeah, and I think that you've done a great job with sort of... Oh yeah, Garlyle, old and slow, taking on Atmos, has probably one swing or 2 swings, maybe just 1 swing left, hopefully winning here. Uh-oh. But what Clear Tonic was talking about is, and a quick reset there by Garlyle. Unfortunately, some serious time lost from losing that battle, but I'm going to try again. Clear Tonic was talking about what is done so well, I think, is that key items do sort of make intuitive sense in most cases. Like, you think about, what does this do for me in vanilla? It usually does something similar. I know those have had to been adjusted a little bit over time. Like I think there used to be a canal key a long time ago, maybe.
Yep, that's right.
Item to get you in. But we want to give access to the canal early on because it's such a low hit point, early game fight. And so, there's been some adjustment of the key items, but for the most part, I would say that the key items are pretty intuitive and you can pick up pretty quickly and easily what they do and sort of get rolling when you're playing, even in just your first or second seed.
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the biggest questions I had when I started was, do I want the player to be forced to fight X-Death 2 in order to, X-Death 1 in World 2 to beat the game? And that was like a big point of contention for a while because it's like a very big and important battle, but it really depends on your settings whether or not you should do that fight. So that's why if you have World 3 open, you don't necessarily have to do that fight. You get an extra benefit. But if you do have World 2 locked, then you have to, and this is what I was saying before, like quote unquote prove to the game that you're strong enough to make it to the end game.
I love that option. I've played fully open worlds, and of course, I've played the race settings, which require you to do that fight. And they both have they're both really fun. It changes the way you play, but it's great. It's great either way. And I do think that we chose World 3 locked for races because we wanted people to have to pass through couple of these really key fights from the vanilla game that do need to sort of prove your way to move forward. I think we actually there's been some talk in the community about doing some even shorter races called Castle X Death Percent races, where we just race to beat that boss and then the race is be over. So that's another option, just among community members, to have a little bit shorter race, but still have that challenging sort of end fight.
Sure, yeah. And I think, I'm very receptive and open to if the community wants to implement a new mode or something and it's within reason to do so, I could probably do it. I think I've heard a lot of feedback. Okay, so one, I think people who maybe look at this are like, oh, it's, this is free enterprise for FF5. The reality is that I have barely interacted and engaged with free enterprise in any way. I kind of got the idea. I was like, oh, okay, when I was making this, it was kind of a similar thing, and they were further along, but I didn't really get that much inspiration from it. However, I have heard people talk about this pass item, right, which is just go straight to Zeromus, and specifically that is not in this game, in this randomizer, but there might be some avenues for different game modes or something that we could implement.
Yeah, I often describe this people who haven't played it before as sort of Final Fantasy V's version of Free Enterprise, but they're very different. I watch a lot of Free Enterprise, and the whole meta of two games is quite a bit different too. But if you like one, there's a good chance you might like the other as well.
Sure.
But that's great. And Clear Tonic saying is open to further development. Let's also point out that you and K-Rulius were pretty much on your own, and you're now sort of the lone person who makes changes to this randomizer. So we also have to be careful about how much we ask for it. I mean, there's only so much one person can do, whereas a lot of other randomizers have entire teams of people.
Yeah, sure. As you guys are aware, I kind of come in and out, and I think especially through 1.0, I didn't want to touch her for a while. I have a laundry list of bugs to squash, and which I'll do after the tournament as we get into the next phase, but I kind of come and go, and I think that's probably good for me too.
Yeah, it's worked out just great, and we're definitely appreciative of all that you can do whenever you manage to, get around to doing it. And I've been around for quite a while on this randomizer, and it's great. It's been great to see the progression of changes and improvements that have been made. Meanwhile, Mal, what's going on in the race?
Well, Garlyle just each of the racers are just doing what the others have previously done. So Francois on to the Twintania fight, unfortunately having to reset out of it. And Garlyle going through Karnak. But I just wanted to say that now I'm fairly new to the Final Fantasy V Career Day community. I haven't played a whole lot of other Final Fantasy randomizers. I've played the Worlds Collide randomizer for Final Fantasy VI, and I have to say, I've tremendously enjoyed Final Fantasy V Career Day. I've got into it without having played through Final Fantasy V completely. It's been an experience, and with the whole community, there's been, there's resources everywhere. Everybody's super helpful. So if anybody's looking to get into it, give it a shot. It's been my favorite randomizer so far.
I assume we have maybe the ability to put a Discord link if anyone in chat wants to join the Discord. Maybe we can put the link in chat for them to do so.
It is really great to see the fact that you guys are, help each other and all of that, because Although, I think if you get the gist of this randomizer, you can kind of figure it out. It's admittedly a lot to ask for a new person to kind of learn all the checks and like where are the key items and how's the tiering system work and all this. And I admittedly, it's a lot. So it's cool that people pick it up and actually do join and get into it.
Interesting thing happened over on Garlyle's side. Slashed the Puroboros and killed them all. They still come back when you do that. That's just sort of how they work. They don't accept instant death unless it's by pure damage.
Correct. Anything that seems to make them disappear from the screen before their counter will bring them back. So Petrify, Petrification slash, Odin slash, X Zone. Somehow they come back from another dimension. You really have to just deal all the damage to them equally, or put them to sleep and then take care of them that way. Or silence as well.
Oh, nice. Francois gets a slash kill on Twintania in the nick of time. Struggled a little bit with that fight. As did Garlyle had a bit of a struggle in the, I know it's a while ago now, in the Atmos fight, which was at for Forest. I'm kind of thinking he might need to go back there soon because we're still looking for the anti-barrier, and we're still looking for the second tablet. And we know that the second tablet is in World 2. So honestly, if I was these runners, I would go learn level 5 Doom and do the death by math strats against Atmos, but something that hasn't really been used all that much in this tournament, and they may have forgotten that it's an option. Instead, just doing basically whatever other checks are open.
So just to summarize what needs to happen to get through World 2 to get to World 3 is that you need the anti-barrier to allow you to get into Xdeath's castle at all in World 2. And then you need the bracelet to be able to transform Xdeath's castle to like the true version. And then that gives you access to the Xdeath fight. And then when you beat Xdeath, that gives you access to World 3, which is what happens in vanilla, kind of in form. And then from there, once you have 4 tablets, then you can access the Void, and that's where the end game is.
Ooh, we have Shote here at the, I think this is the Lanka Meteor. And then Garlyle's going to Flying Lanka Ruins, which is 2 checks and not necessarily an easy entrance here, taking on Shiva. A lot of hit points in this location.
Yeah, one of the checks does have the sandworm bait, as we got a hint for it earlier. But Slash still coming in handy, which is where you see where Slash is superior to Odin for this case, where it is still able to take out heavy enemies, even if a non-heavy enemy is present. If using the summon for Odin, he will never trigger his true edge if there's a heavy enemy present. A heavy enemy present.
Francois got a really nice high damage sword dance on Shote and basically one-shot it. But that gave the trench page, which I don't necessarily think we're going to end up going there, but it's a possibility. There's shopping there and there are hints there. I don't think we necessarily are going to need those hints. But maybe the shopping if we don't have access to any other World 3 shopping. Garlyle gets to hear you call the entrance to Floating Lanka. That is a World 2 location, so perhaps this really is, this could pay out here. Craig won. He runs away when you weaken him by not much, so that's already over.
Yeah, quite an easy fight.
We'll probably see more of him later. Gilgamesh is present in up to 4 different spots in this randomizer. They're named Gilgamesh 1, 2, 3, and 4. And they correspond to his some of his vanilla appearances. And so he's got different points, abilities, all kinds of things, depending on which Gilgamesh he is.
Yeah. And weaknesses. Some of them are weak against instant kill, instant doom attacks, but some of them aren't. It's very interesting how he goes through this flux.
I mean, Gilgamesh is a great character. He's sort of progressing along with you in the vanilla game, sort of learning blue magic and learning techniques to try and beat you. But 4 against 1 is a tough fight, so he usually can't handle us.
and through the vanilla story, if you take long enough on the 4th iteration of Gilgamesh, there will be a fight, a bit of a cutscene during the battle where he gets X-zoned to a cleft dimension, joining Go-Go in Final Fantasy VI.
Yes, into the Final Fantasy multiverse to appear in later games. Francoise has returned to the Shiva spot to take on Omniscient, looking for a sword dance. Omni will reset unless you one-shot him, so sword dance is required to get the win here, but it could happen eventually. Garlyle on the other side taking on Califasteri and using the Artemis bow to do effective damage. She is coded as both beast and human, and the Artemis bow there. It's the beast's really hard, so she's down. And there's a sword dance. Or
And there's the
Francoise.
sandworm gate.
That could be important.
Yeah, because we're still looking for the barrier, the anti-barrier,
Yes.
despite the fact that the tablet 2 is in World 2. The anti-barrier could still be anywhere, as far as I'm aware.
Yes. Was a hint involving the desert, was there not? I want to say that there was. Or maybe it was just a hint about the sandworm bait.
There was a hint about the sandworm bait being present in the Flying Lanka ruins.
Okay, so
Oh.
hint system is
Choosing-
really interesting. Maybe Clear Tonic would even want to talk about it, but I'll just say that some hints are better than others.
Yeah, sure. So brief background on hints. This again is kind of part of the race design of trying to help the player get through the game without kind of struggling, having no idea where to go. So there are 15 NPCs in the game that give you multiple hints, and there's kind of a structure around what kind of hints there are. Some are called Path of the Void that just generally tell you that you need to do X in order to logically complete the game. Then there are some direct hints, and that they just tell you exactly where to go. There are some barren hints that say this area or this type of area in general have no items of value. So you can use these as the player to be like, okay, I need to prioritize X or Y check in the short term to try to get to, the next progression. And then all the hints around where the tablets are very, very important, because those are like arguably the most important ones. But yeah, the general gist is that the hint system is there to help the player not struggle and, kind of wander around aimlessly.
Right, but I also love that the hint system is also sometimes ambiguous, and so it keeps you guessing unless you get perfect hints. And so there's a lot of potential divergence when you're doing like a race or something. One racer goes one way, follows one hint, one follows another hint, and no one knows for sure how it's going to turn out. So there is interesting ambiguity to it. I really like. Potential revisions to the hint system could happen in the future, I guess, but now we're pretty happy with it.
Big bridge key in the library, so perhaps giving us our access to that tablet 2 if it's present there. Yeah, unfortunately, Fire Blizzard's theory of a fork tower to Big Bridge Key seed has been debunked.
Yeah, but I guess I think we're running out of dated World 2. Oh, there's the anti-barrier. So Garlyle found it on the Ziza fleet. Wow, that one was a long early chain in order to find required item. But we also know that Tablet 2 is in World 2. So Francois might be about to get that. And Garlyle needs to keep searching. He's going to go back to Moor Forest where he died before, and no one has won that fight yet either. So narrowing it down here, there's just not many places left where the second tablet could be an Excess Castle. Good point.
Yeah, I was about to say, at this point, do you go back and do more Forest, not knowing whether or not it's actually going to be there, or climbing the castle and doing those fights, hoping to find it?
In the case of let's see, Garlyle does have both tickets to get in.
Yeah.
I guess
now,
I would just do
advantage...
it based on how good I felt about this Atmos fight myself.
Yeah. The advantage of the Atmos, doing the Atmos fight, would be that if it's there, you're only doing one check, and then you don't have to check any of the bosses inside the castle. However, if you end up doing all the bosses in the castle and it turns out it was on this forest, then you still have to come back and do it. And you just fought three bosses for nothing.
Second tablet, Francois gets it at the bridge. So we now know where everything is, and that Moor Forest is not required. Winning a bridge fight is a lot easier than winning the Moor Forest fight, so I'm a little surprised that Garlyle didn't check the... He doesn't have Big Bridge Key, my bad.
He does not have the Big Bridge Key.
Yeah, that is Francois's advantage. He got the key at the library, whereas Garlyle is focusing more on World 2 checks, so it might be a while before he goes back to the library. Now, Francois does not have... Why would you go to...
The Hear You Call.
Okay,
Still looking for
yes.
the Hear You Call.
So Francois is going to the right place, because he has to go to Flying Lonka here in order to get that key item to get in. So, yeah. All 4 tablets, still looking for Castle X-Death access, is not a common thing that you see in the randomizer, but it can happen. A question from chat: how are they set up for the Void? I would say not that well. In fact, see, Francois has the trench page. After going through Excess Castle and doing some looting, I would reassess. But if you feel a little weak, you might go to the trench for some shopping. Or you could potentially take fights in Excess Castle in hopes that you would get something like the Mirage Radar or the Moogle Suit, which have really good loot. There was a hint about Moogle Suit, if I can find it. It's in World 3, so you're not going to find Moogle Suit in Excess Castle. Bad. But yeah, what do you think, Mal? Are you... would you feel confident going into Excess Castle at this point?
With the tools that they have, I would think so. Yeah, with the Holy Lance giving you access to... Oh, there's the submarine key.
Right. That's kind of... that scares me.
That might be a bit of a red herring. Garlyle may follow it into the barrier tower.
Yeah, sub-key opens up a lot, and it only opens up the barrier tower in World 2s, but it looks like he's probably going to check that right away and chase it.
Yeah.
And we know that that's not required, so that's going to be a bit of a time sink. One thing that he can do there, though, if he's really high on Trainer, you can catch yellow dragons from the Monster in a Box chest and then save them for the X-Death fight and release them and kill Castle X-Death pretty quickly. I don't necessarily think he's going to do that, though, because you have to First of all,
But
you have
right
to
now-
roll yellow dragons, and if you don't, you have to run from that fight, and it's not easy. But you know, maybe catch one or two. It's a possibility.
Yeah, right now they don't have a... Unless I missed it, I don't think they have an easy solution for the last boss. Right, they don't have an easy ability that they can just spam to get rid of X-Death, or Neo X-Death. So
Yeah.
you may have considered, but no, it seems to be taking the Red Dragon fight, and maybe we'll try to capture them if they're made available in the next chest.
Yeah, Garlyle has mix, which is part of the equation that can help you win quickly and easily at the end, but definitely needs more than just that in order to have a nice quick final fight.
Flame Whip, unfortunately, healing the Red Dragon.
About that Dragon Whip, or was that sold? I think I saw someone in the chat mention earlier that the Dragon Whip was actually sold to someone earlier. But it does effective damage against dragons, so it would be nice for these fights. It looks like Garlyle's might be avoiding any more chests here in Barrier Tower. He skipped the second one.
Might be just
maybe
going up to the
doesn't
safe
want to
point
get into
save.
any more dragon fights. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going up to maybe use a tent before they get another fight.
There is a trade-off on doing those monster in a box fights. They generally have high tier loot, but they take time, and as you can see, fighting dragons can hurt. So maybe often just say, want to get to the boss of this area and move past it rather than spending a bunch of time in here. I think that's what Garlyle's doing. You have to feel a little bit of time pressure now because you're not even in X-Death Castle yet. Oh, and it's a free fight at the top of the tower here. So Sergeant is vulnerable to just about all the instant kill stuff if Garlyle has any of that stuff equipped.
Yeah, if they still have Slash on them, doesn't seem to be.
Well, that would be a shame if no one has Slash. Even so, the wolves don't hit very hard, and the sergeant can be taken out without too much trouble. Swaz about to defeat Califasteri. Oh, and it's a quick reset by Garlyle to put Slash on, I imagine, to make that fight a little faster.
There it is.
Francoise is about to finish with Floating Lanka and probably is going to know the best of our two runners about where to go next. Has the Hear You Call, and he has, oh, okay, he might check the Sandworm Desert as well, but two easy checks, relatively easy checks. And then Francoise is going to finally enter X-Death Castle.
And because right now, Francois doesn't have any sort of hints as to where the anti-barrier could be. So it's just a matter of picking a direction and walking towards it.
Yep. The only hints really is that, well, we don't have World 3 access, so keep clearing those World 1 and 2 checks.
Oh, checking
decides
the
to go
Hear You
and
Call.
Made the right
Making
choice.
the right one.
A question from chat. Good question. Swap between Galif and Cryle like in vanilla or cosmetic only. You start seed with Galif if you're doing these race flags, but there's actually an option to start with Cryle or Kara, as she's called in this older translation, from the very beginning. So if you're really into her, you can have her for the whole game. I think it's a little bit more interesting to actually start with Galif and then either finish the entire seed with him and he gets to survive, unlike you might be used to, or it's often required that you go to Moor Forest and unlock, and Sheaf is the one that finishes out the game. Yeah, and there are advantages and disadvantages to both characters in terms of their starting stats and strengths.
Correct. Yeah, Kryle is or Kryle or whatever is significantly faster than Galuf. I'm not sure of what the other stat differences are, but that is the one that I can definitely feel.
Yeah, she's the fastest character in the game, and he's the slowest one. And he is about being sort of bulky and strong, and she has low hit points and is not so strong. She's much more magical and fast, and so they're sort of opposites of each other in a way. But I like them both. Galuf can do underflow berserker things, and he can survive tanking hits. And I like the storyline of him surviving and all the way to the end. But I think she's probably the better overall character if you're just going for just pure, who's better.
Liquid Flame giving Garlyle the business, but Garlyle giving it right back. In Excess Basement, we get the Falls page. Nothing that he should be following, because that's a World 3 check, and we know that the second tablet is in World 2. But unfortunately, still looking for that big bridge key.
So Garlyle is doing what you suggested before, which is check Exdeath's Castle. Maybe that's where the second tablet is, rather than full clearing every World 2 location. But we do know from what Francoise has done that the second tablet is on the big bridge. And that's a pretty quick and easy check, but Garlyle does not have the key. And Francoise got the anti-barrier. So even though he's going into Exdeath's Castle after Garlyle, I think Francoise definitely has the advantage here.
Yeah, definitely, because Francois now has the option of just skipping every fight inside the castle, just heading straight to the save points and then getting the chests and walking right out. Though, at this point, do you feel comfortable getting into the void with your current loadout?
Not hugely impressed with the team that is available to these players, so it's a tough decision for Francois whether he wants to take fights in here. I mean, certainly you want to loot in here, but I don't know. I might take an easy fight, maybe like do the carbuncle spot and see how that goes, and maybe even check the other one to see if it's an easy one.
Yeah, they don't have many jobs, and like if through being able to fight these extra bosses, right? If you check Carbuncle and you got something like Mirage Radar, when you get to World 3, that would give Garlyle like a big advantage, something like that.
Finding Mirage Radar would be huge. Francoise has the Trench page, which is sort of like minor opportunity for shopping and looting in World 3 before you go into the void. Or you could just go for it and hope that the void provides you with good stuff, because there's plenty of good stuff in there too. It's a tough call. I think this is a really interesting race in that we don't have a whole lot of power. We can get through the Exdeath Castle fight with Holy Spear, I think, without too much trouble. But beyond that, you have to think further down the road.
That's going to be bad, potentially.
Yeah.
Francois is deciding to just power through the lava. Oh no, Sword Dance gonna make quick work of this. There's nothing bad at all here.
The roulette room, you're good enough that you're gonna get it. You're gonna get the chests every time, right? Whoops.
Well, I will apparently.
Timing exercise.
Maybe not FrancoiseHarpie. No. It is definitely a bit of a challenge. It's funny. Sometimes you just get it perfectly, and sometimes you just can't land it if your life depended on it. And in this situation, it does. FrancoiseHarpie deciding to just walk over the lava, which does damage to you, but will not kill you. Will just bring you down to 1 HP. Falls page was in the Castle Exdeath.
Yeah, it was in here.
In the basement.
In the basement, yeah. My guess is that most of the time when Francois does this room, it goes very smoothly. But there's some extra pressure here because this is the finals race. You know, like curves are kicking in, and your timing is off just a little bit, and you end up suffering in this room here. Really wants these chests, though. There's some good money. And
there we go.
Yoichi Oh, that's not bad.
No, it's definitely was one of the better bows in the game.
So Garlyle has passed Francois just because... Oh, Garlyle was in first? My bad. Garlyle was in first.
Garlyle went in ahead, but Francois is catching up very quickly.
We have Ifrit here. Using Mind Blast is good because he can be paralyzed. Also, any paralysis whip can paralyze him, but you don't want to the flame whip on him, of course, because he would absorb that fire.
I think you start to really see them slow down on bosses like this.
Yeah, we don't have... I mean, I do think that runners probably bought Shoat, but I don't think we have Summon 3 to use it. Shoat can instant kill Ifrit, but I just can't make use of that yet, unfortunately. So it slows down a lot of fights. The Ifrit's, I think he's at the Carbuncle location. It's only 15,000 hit points, so it won't take too long to win this fight, but if the next check is the Gilgamesh 4 location, has 30,000 hit points. You really don't want to see long, drawn-out boss fight there.
Well, 30,000 now. It used to be 65k.
Thank you for making that change. In the early days of the randomizer, got all those Greg 4 hit points from both forms all combined, and it was just pain in the butt. I mean, Xdeath in his castle only has a little over 32,000 hit points, so it was a little bit out of proportion. So reducing it down to 30 was a nice change.
So Francois taking on Xdeath.
Another Yoichi bow from the Carbuncle spot.
No, Gilgamesh 4 is in the castle. I think the fight you're thinking about is the fight with Necrophobia, where Gilgamesh comes back and helps you out.
So when you first get to the, I don't know what it's called, the crystal area in the void, there's technically a scripted fight where Gilgamesh is like on the first teleport platform, but that's effectively taken out of the game, and that is like Gilgamesh 5.
Yeah, Vanilla has like 6 Gilgamesh appearances, so but there's only 4 in the randomizer, or potentially you could have a 5th if he comes to help you out against Necrophobe, but that depends on the order that you've done things. Ooh, the Hiryu plant is nice because that is not heavy. You can slash it.
Yeah, so instant reset, so to equip slash. Ooh.
Swaz has decided to skip the rest of the castle checks, at least for now, and just fight Castle Xdeath, and it's not going too well, but the jumping with the Holy Lance and something else, getting over 6,000 per attack is it's pretty strong. I'm not sure though.
Ooh, but not strong enough to save
off.
him against Xdeath.
You might as well. I guess what probably happened is that Xdeath used the Dynamo and changed Gallup's row, but you do want to be in the back row to make sure you can't get hit quite so far, because you can jump from back there for the same damage.
Yeah, there's a save really nearby.
So on Xdeath, right? Xdeath is unchanged, not randomized. Nothing about Xdeath is different in World 2 and at the end of the game. The idea is that there's some consistency across everything else being random. That the player has to generally prepare for the big fights in similar ways with all the other tools that they've got.
Ooh, nothing from the Greg 4 check, so the no Mirage radar for our racers, at least not yet. I do want to mention, if you play fully open worlds and you defeat Castle Xdeath, there's a nice little randomizer feature where you get to pick from 3 random items, which you may or may not already have. But that's a fun flag setting to use, and it can help you get through seeds faster as well.
Yeah. So in chat, on this note about optimizing, I believe that there's actually already a patch out there that we could probably just implement. That I think somebody else had already like fixed this problem of having like quote unquote better optimize. And like we've had some things where we've done this before. Like for example, we put the Gala mimic sprite in the game, which is ordinarily not there, and that's just somebody else had already done it. So I think there's an avenue to just put it in the optimize script to change it up.
Interesting. I did not know that there was a better optimized patch out there, but that might be a nice addition to the randomizer because we've all been burned by bone mail, and we all want Hermes running shoes on almost all the time once we get them.
Yeah.
So that would be cool. So we have both racers now fighting Castle X Death. Francoise again down to just Gala. Double turns kill him off again. Garlyle seems to have the level advantage because he's been doing more fights on the way. Also, he's buffing up a bit more, doing things like casting armor so his team can think the hits better. So we have to see. It's going to be interesting to see who can get through this one first. I think Francoise is on attempt number 3. Garlyle might have a more consistent setup, but I'm not gonna make any claims and other than that just until I see how this fight goes.
Breaking some light staffs for the extra damage.
Light staff break is a great move, although from Red Mage it's not doing quite as much damage as you might hope. But you know, certainly it's a good option. Probably a better option than going with a trainer, if you ask me, and trying to rely on the Fire 3 procs to do damage. I believe when the trainer attacks, hits, and gets a Fire 3 proc, that's 2 chances for X-Step to counter with the spell, which is really annoying too. I kind of like Francoise's naming. Ooh, but Garlyle has won the fight. Did I see a flash? I did.
Yes, you did.
Garlyle is through first. I just wanted to mention Francoise has a funny naming scheme going on. Mage of Rando, it says. By coincidence.
I am curious as to what would have happened if Kara would have been switched out. I assume they just named them of as well. On Garlyle's side, the naming convention was the Xenoblade Chronicles characters.
I'm glad that you knew what that was because I did not. And that's another reset for Francoise. In the chat, someone mentioned neither racer goes ahead, or maybe that they both probably feel behind right now. So this is a rough situation for sure. Both of them probably feeling behind, feeling like they need to rush. So what do you do at this point?
I would guess that Francois is probably feeling a lot more pressure on account of just having died so many times on this fight. And you always have to wonder, did your opponent do everything that I did up to this point and is succeeding? Meanwhile, we know that Garlyle is still looking for the final tablet.
Yeah, so the longer Francois struggles in this particular fight, the more Garlyle can catch up because he still needs to do these checks until he finds the second tablet.
And I think he's about to find the big bridge. Oh no, sorry, the big bridge key was in the
fleet,
library.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you're right. It's in the library. Yeah, so he's just going through the World 1 checks in sequence here that he hasn't done. Library should be soon, I would think.
Yeah, luckily he's still going through the World 1 checks, so that means he's not going to be too far behind. Because as soon as he finds this, he's going to be able to go and check it out and then be in go mode. So if Francois suffers another wipe, they may be neck and neck.
Yeah, and people in chat are also mentioning that Garlyle is getting more levels by doing more checks, and he probably has a better overall team setup. Francois is kind of relying on the randomness of Dancer can help you or hurt you. Red Mage is very sort of mediocre, like it's okay, and it gets worse and worse as you progress further into a seed. Both are using Dragoons. Yeah, I think that Garlyle, just in the course of this whole tournament, has shown that he's really good at optimizing his jobs and abilities. So I probably do give him the advantage there.
Oh,
Now
looks like he's heading over to the library.
This is the spot
So we might
where
be
he
able
needs
to
go.
Yeah. This is gonna.
Of course, he has to decide to chase the bridge, but the bridge is a quick check, so probably.
Yeah, I would assume he does, because I think at this point he's checked all of the World 2 locations except that one, and he knows that it's in World 2.
Yes.
Yeah, so there shouldn't be any hesitation.
I really wonder if they'll try to find either the Moogle suit or the Mirage Radar, or they'll just go straight to the Void, because it's such a toss-up, right? Like it could work out, but they're really scrapping by.
Yeah. Moogle suit is in World 3. I'm pretty sure we had a hint about that. That's not very helpful, because there's a heck of a lot of World 3 checks available. So I don't think I would try and search blindly for that. Unfortunately, Garlyle does not have that trench page, so he can't even do any shopping either. But Garlyle is a guy who will dive into the Void even if he doesn't feel totally ready. He's done it before. It's just a question of whether he's willing to take that risk in this case.
There's the big bridge play for Garlyle to get the final tablet.
So he's on the right track here. Francois still on the X-Step fight. This is probably fourth, if not fifth attempt. Not going too well for him. This can happen to you in vanilla. You have sort of a weak team. This becomes one of the toughest fights in the game. In the randomizer, it's often easy, but sometimes it's not. And this is one of the cases where it's not easy.
Do you guys ever do like level grinding strats or anything like that for this, or you just power through it, or?
I do level grinding rarely. In the case of getting early mediator and control, it's easy to do a quick level grind on prototypes or on shield dragons right at the start. And I like the dark matters that you get as vanilla drops from prototype, because you can sell them or you can use them in the mix. And then I think the shield dragon gives like 17 or something levels just from killing one.
And there's the second tablet, Garlyle going into go mode.
As for level grinding later, I usually don't do that too often, but there is some level grinding that you can do either in the Void or I can't even say I've ever done it, but I mean there are other spots where you can level grind, like in World 3 or even World 2, but they're usually just not necessary.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had really the experience of going to a level grind other than just doing location checks.
We'll say that depending on the flags that you use and how difficult your seed is, it can be more likely that you want or need to level grind. Like in these race flags, they're kind of designed to go fast. So I think that's part of it too. One of the reasons that we don't really need to grind so much.
Sure, yeah.
The occasional grind that you'll see people make often are to learn job abilities, probably mainly, mix or or Guild Toss to be able to use it on, another class.
Okay, so Garlyle went into the sealed castle to grab whatever loot wanted. I mean, if nothing else, you can sell some of that stuff, even if you're not going to use it. So let's see what he does before he goes into the void. Looks like he's going to hit a shop, probably sell a bunch of this stuff, so he's got the money in case he finds Guild Toss, because if he finds Guild Toss in there, and some more buying, but if he finds Guild Toss in there, he already has Mix, and the final fight is pretty much free for him.
There it is.
Get those
And
Aegis shields.
Francoise gets through the fight.
Yeah, so Garlyle picking up 4 Aegis shields, getting ready for that final fight. Aegis shields protecting you from the stone effect of the white hole ability from Tree X Death, which then protects you from the instant kill portion of the attack as well.
Really useful to have those, as long as you have characters that can equip those shields, which, I mean, we have some characters. I guess you could go Mix on Goon or something, but then you would need to Guild Toss on a couple other ones or something. So we still are unsure of what our final setup is going to be. I noticed after Francoise won the fight, comparing levels, Garlyle's team is about level 33, whereas Francoise is 29. So there is a bit of a level advantage there for Garlyle as well, which may help him as we go forward here. Garlyle has plenty of money if he wants to do some guild tossing in the void and for the final fight. So he's just gonna leave town and probably pick up a few other things that he feels he might need for mixing the void, like maybe Phoenix Downs or something. And then it's time to go. I don't expect Garlyle to do any more boss checks outside of the void. Francoise might go to the trench and do some shopping there. We'll have to see. But they both probably feel behind. I'm kind of expecting that they're both going to rush into the void.
Francois does not have the submarine key, so we'll be unable to do that.
Ooh, my bad. Sub key was a long time ago, but you're right.
Yeah, with their
Garlyle
powers combined,
found
they could go shopping in the trench. Unfortunately, independently, they are unable to do so.
With our powers combined, we could go shopping, but no, without we cannot. Francois wants to go to the trench, but is now realizing he doesn't have that sub key, and it's time to go to the void instead. He tried to go shopping. That's probably, I might have done that myself, but
yeah, so this void is scary. If I had Francois set up, I would be uncomfortable going into the void and taking on Tree Access with this setup.
Do you guys ever get White Wind?
I mostly only get it if I see it in a shop or if I find it. If you mean like turning on encounters, at one time I was in the void and I did learn White Wind in the void forest from the White Flames.
Yeah.
But usually it's like not necessary. Some nice finds here by Francoise. I saw Meteor and there's all kinds of good loot here. My general philosophy is that even if I don't feel great, Void gives really good stuff. It tends to work out, but you don't like having to rely on that philosophy in a grand final because it doesn't always work out.
Yeah, I mean, they've got like Cure 2, right? Like,
yeah, I don't know if we've got the ability to use Golem. Pretty sure we don't because we don't have the ability to use Shoat either. We're really hoping to find some nice stuff here in the void.
Flare Black Magic.
Light 5 would allow you to cast Cure 3 if you have it. Time 5 isn't quite enough to cast Meteor. Next fight,
but it is enough to cast Haste 2, however.
Yes, and we found that a long time ago, and that would be worth putting on someone because haste 2 on the entire team really helps a lot. One of the best. I mean, haste is probably the best single
Speaking of
buff in
Golem,
the game. So, easy fight for getting Golem is nice, and hopefully we can use him soon too.
luckily, those enemies will be targeting Golem until Golem dies. If you manage to take out both enemies before Golem falls, then he will eventually join your team as long as you don't finish him before the end of the battle.
Someone from chat asking how much hit points these dragons have. They split the hit points of the boss here, so they actually don't have that much.
Yeah, speaking of like hit point distribution, since we have Clear here, maybe you can enlighten us how do you divide the hit points between targets? Some bosses seem to be divided equally. Some bosses seem to like with minions have different kind of values. How did you make that decision?
Yeah. So generally the idea is every location has the same HP as its vanilla, right? So I think Califisteria actually, I'm not totally sure, somewhere like 25k or something like that. It's been a while since I've looked at it, but the general gist is whatever gets placed there, the main boss is going to have, say, let's just say it's 25,000 HP. So there are instances in which it gets allocated a little bit differently. So for example, I think for if Necrophobe shows up there, Necrophobe will have that amount of HP, and then the barriers will have the same ratio that they did at their vanilla location compared to Necrophobe. There are instances in, like this Bone Dragon Zombie Dragon fight, where I think the HP of Califisteria's 25k would just get split from the same ratio that Bone Dragon has the Zombie Dragon across that 25k. So there's no real short answer, but the idea is that it both tries to take the HP of the location and allocate it based on the same ratios that occur for the fight itself. So like whatever gets placed there, it'll be, X% of what the main boss is. So another example, right? Shiva's got the 3 soldiers with her. So I believe Shiva gets the 25k of what Califisteria gets, and then the soldiers will get the same ratio of percentage that they have to Shiva's max HP at the regular vanilla Shiva location.
Yeah, that's how I've sort of sussed out how it works. It makes sense to me, but I'm obviously a little more familiar with the randomizer than most. But basically, if you've got minions, if you're a boss that has minions, you get the hit point, you get the vanilla hit points, and they get their standard fraction of them. Yeah. And then if you're a boss that is multi-part, but all parts are equal, then they will get each, their equal fraction of the hit points, and then of course,
exactly, like Puroboros, right? 1/6 each.
Yeah.
We've got Garlyle keeping on attempting to Deathclaw the bone either dragon, but unfortunately both of those are immune to the Deathclaw's effects, because that only applies to non-heavy targets, and both of those targets are considered heavy.
Yeah, I probably got it confused because this Bone Dragon up top is weak to petrification. So that's a different instant kill, and it's very easy in this game to mix up some of your instant kills because they're really powerful and they often overlap. Like lots and lots of bosses that are vulnerable to death status are also not heavy, but not all of them. The same goes for stone status. And so it's just got those mixed up a little bit, but is now about to get Golem as long as that Dragoon doesn't kill him.
Yeah, locked out there. But Golem doesn't seem to mind. He thanks you anyways.
Golem has lots of hit points. He's tanky, and he's on our side. We just need to get the ability to use him. And meanwhile, Francoise is actually seeing Halicarnasso at the Panda spot. gets all the way through the script. Holy is the last thing that Holly does, and as you can see, that's a very strong Holy. But I think the fight's probably going to be over soon.
And there he goes.
Magic lamp found in the void. That could be very useful for our final fight, especially if we have to do a difficult, long and drawn out final fight. Magic lamp is extremely useful if you can't do a quick gill toss for the win kind of
right.
Final.
For the viewers, the magic lamp allows you to call every summon in reverse order from strongest to weakest. And every time you use it, it goes down the list. Now, the first 2 summons are going to be, you're going to have Bahamut, followed by, now I can't remember, because I'm on the spot, Leviathan. But the important part is the third one, which will summon Odin, which is going to use True Strike no matter what your target is. As we mentioned earlier, if there is a heavy opponent in the battlefield, he will not use it normally. This forces the True Strike ability, making you... Oh, there's Odin on FrancoiseHarpie's side.
Think of the Odin.
It will let you use the True Strike ability, and the final boss, Neo X Death, has one of his parts that is weak to the instant kill from Odin's True Strike. So it's one way to easily remove one target.
Yeah, and I mean that's sort of like what people who know the game well from vanilla often rely on, is that magic lamp. In this tournament, we haven't had a whole lot of fights where we had to do harder, Neo X Step fights. A lot of it has just been gill toss, buff up levels, and gill toss. So actually, Francoise against Karma beat Neo X Death, 3X Death, and Neo X Death with just boosted level and Fire 3. And both of these runners have a lot of vanilla experience, so they should be able to pull off a more difficult final fight. So I think it's gonna... I mean, this is pretty close. I think it could come down to the key things that happen here in the void. Biblos is really annoying with all of his elemental absorbs. He absorbs Holy.
Yeah.
Why was he coded that way? And I'm not asking Clear Tonic, because this comes from vanilla. He absorbs Holy. He's weak to Holy, and he absorbs it.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Like, I try my best not to mess around with well, for the most part, I didn't change any weaknesses or anything like that. But it's really interesting that there's all of these like weird artifacts of early game bosses having either weaknesses or resistance to things that in the vanilla game you wouldn't have even seen up till that point yet. Siren is also another example of like you can do things with certain status effects that you don't even have access to yet.
Yeah. It makes you wonder what was going on during development. Maybe a lot of different people were working on different bosses and they didn't have the exact order of them worked out yet, so they got some interesting weaknesses, and the randomizer allows you to sometimes exploit those, which for me is really interesting and cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got another simultaneous fight going on here. Garlyle with the pause is fighting nothing but Holy on, but absorbs, I should say, on Biblos. Wants to reset and re-gear. Maybe with Slash, because Biblos is not heavy. There you go.
And there it is.
Put that on multiple people, though, because he's got some magic evade as well, and Slash is treated as a magical attack.
I think Garlyle,
Francois is struggling through it.
Yeah, I think Garlyle made the right choice. Instantly resetting, knowing that he's got the tools to take care of that. I'm not entirely sure if Francois has the Slash ability on his side, or if it's just a bit of a sunk cost. Questioning of whether or not.
This location is optional, but it's a really important spot because it opens up a save point for you, and it should save you. If you can get through this relatively quickly, it should save you time, because you need to... Otherwise, you'd be running back to the previous save and doing that over and over as you through these last few checks.
I'm
But
looking good for Francois.
yeah, being slow, jumping is good because Biblos can't hit you, but being slow is bad, and he can hit you when you're and on the ground.
Yeah, Lena landing the Death Claw on Garlyle's side, both slashes missing, and then just a fight for the win. Death
Interesting.
Claw
That's
taking your enemy down to, I believe, single or double-digit HPs. That's
single.
to single digit, so any hit at this point will take it down almost.
That was funny
Garlyle
because
takes the lead too.
Yeah, Slash actually has a better hit rate than Deathclaw, but I mean, it was just RNG rolls getting past Biblos' magic evade there, and Deathclaw happened to be the one that hit. I missed it over on Francois' side. I'm gonna guess that he died at Biblos.
Yeah, it looks like he's trying to reimagine his team to try to take it on.
What you mentioned
really...
before, Mal, is really important, is does he have Slash? And what other, if not, what other useful thing does he have that can really hurt a non-heavy enemy? I kind of think he didn't pick it up Slash either, because even Garlyle took him a while to find it.
Yeah, I did see he definitely has Deathclaw. So I've definitely saw him that. Yeah, I see people saying if only had level 5.
Spam the heck out of that. That might work.
If you had level 5 death, it's a difficult choice to make whether or not you take the time to go and try to get that level 5 death. It's not too complicated. All you have to do is have a character with a multiple of 5, and then go to the library all the way to the top and take a fight with the book. And on the second page, you encounter a page that can cast level 5 death on you, or level 5 doom. Problem with that is that occasionally you'll get the fight where more pages keep coming, and then you have to go all the way through the book and then all the way back to the front, and it's actually it's a bit of a time waste. So when do you make that call? Do you feel comfortable making that call to try to get level 5 doom every time?
I don't know if you're asking me personally, but
yes.
No, not necessarily. I'm mostly, if I find blue early or if I have a blue mage start, that's when I'll try and get it. And then later on in the seed, might go do it if my levels are just right. And I am relying a lot on blue magic.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, and often in the randomizer races, level 5 Doom has been popping up like in the void and stuff. So I mean, if it pops up there, then you may have wasted some time earlier getting it. Almost isn't that hard just fighting him normally, but it is an instant kill because it is level 5. But so that's a very tough call. I'm probably one of the people that likes blue magic the most, so I tend to try and get those spells more than some other people. Ooh, now, is this a lamp use of Odin to kill Biblos? On Francois's side, I think.
That's
I think we got bigger problems on Garlyle's side, though.
Yeah.
Gosh,
necrophobia. And the throne.
Well, the levels will help. I mean, he can survive a flare or a holy with these dragoons at max HP. What do we have as options to take out the barriers? He has mix. I have a feeling he doesn't have very many dark matters. He probably has at least 1 or 2 that would take out. Barrier pretty easily just by using death potion mix on them. But the problem, I think, is going to be keeping everybody on their feet. Oh my gosh, going for the roulette strats? No way. That is I don't think roulette actually can hit heavy targets, and the barriers are heavy, so I don't think that you want to go for that. Roulette is one of the things that you do as a meme when you're about to die. What other we don't have summon 3 to use Shoat. The barriers can be petrified. We have Magic Sword. I don't think we have Magic Sword 4 and Break Blade. So this is quite rough. You would need somebody probably to just be on dedicated healing duty. And you might have to go very slowly with like at least 2 on everyone, all Dragoons, cure 3 every time that person's turn comes up, and then just keep jumping on the barriers one by one. I don't really see a good quick way to win this fight. It's going to be pretty rough. Garlyle is definitely taking a moment here to think about this, and I'm sure that Francoise is also going to not be happy about finding Necro in the Void, one of the toughest bosses in the entire randomizer when you find him in the Void.
I haven't seen Leviathan yet either. It'd be kind of rough if it was right after this.
Yes, Leviathan is another one that can be really mean in the Void if you don't have good setup for it, and our runners do not really have a good setup for Leviathan either, so that would be another one that you don't really want to see. Leviathan is a dragon. I don't think we have the Dragoon Lance. Maybe someone still has the Dragon Whip, but that doesn't do a ton of damage. It's going to be rough.
Yeah. So
I'm trying to scratch my head at figuring out what to do in that location, and there's just nothing. I'm just not coming up with anything.
I mean, you definitely need to be fast, and you need to have high hit points and healing. I think that's kind of what it comes down to in this case.
Mm-hmm.
So the Halicarnasso location has 33,333 HP. So the idea is that Necrophobia should have that HP, and then the barriers, I think it's 25% of that each. Actually, let me pull up the code and check, but that should be right.
Yes, roughly that. Yep, I think that makes sense to me based on their vanilla hit point values. Good point in chat. It was mentioned that you could use the lamp here twice against Necrophobia, and then you could get that Bahamut and Leviathan damage on the barriers to weaken them. Still hold on to Odin for the final fight. Of course, Francoise doesn't have that as an option, I don't think, because he already used Lamp Odin against Blos. Garlyle has it as an option. The problem is that he doesn't have any jobs with a good magic stat. We've got so few jobs in this seed that, like Dragoon magic or even Chemist magic is not very good. So those lamp rolls are not going to do that much damage. It's decent, but it's not great.
Oh, it is 20%, 25, but yeah.
Okay, 20% then. Fair enough.
Level 4 quarter, unfortunately, will hit the barriers, but their reflect will send it right back at you.
Yeah, and they're even heavy, and so it actually does 0 damage to them, even if it could hit them. Level 4 quarter is kind of like the bad level-based blue spell, because it should, I mean, in my opinion, when they were designing the game, they should have made it ignore heavy status, but no, it doesn't. So,
yeah,
unfortunately, it does 0. So yeah, Francoise is about to get the bad news, and I think again, as has happened a few times already in this race, it's like whoever gets through this fight or past this hurdle, in this case Necrophobia and the barriers, is going to have a big advantage. Whoever can do it first.
And Garlyle with a reset.
Yeah, this is really rough with, you've got a lot of abilities, but not many jobs, and warping out of the void. This is a difficult decision.
Do you think that was an accident, or?
Nope, I think this was intentional, and I think that he feels like he needs to do more and come back with something that's going to help him get through that fight more easily. We've seen this done. In fact,
Francois
I
is
think I
doing
saw
the
somebody
same
warp
thing.
out of the void before and come back. Did Francois look at Necro? I didn't even see.
Yeah, he walked right into Necro, saw the fight, and noped right out of it.
I like it.
Doing
at
the
this
tool
point,
check.
maybe
Both of them.
you're looking for a really good job, or just the summon 3 ability or something.
Yeah. So I think they're gonna go try to check for the Moogle suit.
Okay, yeah, Garlyle is doing World 3 checks. They're both doing the Tool Pass check. This is a nice, quick, easy check. If you're going to do a quick check, it might as well be this one. You're hoping to get Moogle Suit out of it because the team is just underpowered. It could have potentially made it through if bosses in the Void weren't so hard. But running across Necro and not even knowing what's after him, it just proved to be a little bit too much for these teams. They're just not strong teams, and Francois might even want to recharge his lamp as well, which is something that he typically does with Boko when he's on him here. I saw him do that in another race.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that Garlyle doesn't have the trench page, and then Francois doesn't have the submarine, and they're probably hoping to find it in World 3, but that's not the case for either of them.
Yeah, unfortunate there. Oh my gosh, another flame whip. It's like this seed has been like, we really, really, really want you to do trainer strats. How about you just catch, and you could do that against Necrophobes. You could make 4 trainers and you could have them release 4 Pillow Dragons, and that would kill the barriers. Really, it would. It would exactly kill them because it does 1/4 of their hit points for each release. But it's hard to catch them quickly. Set that up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think. Oh, there are. I'm trying to think if there's any easy catches. You could go to the Void and you could catch those Wind Dragons, which are in the Sky Walkway area, and those do the same thing. Remove 1/4 of enemy HP at a time. So you could actually do something like that to get past the barrier portion of Necro, and then. He's no joke by himself either. Like, you have to hit him hard with elemental damage to actually take out Necrophobia too. So either way, really tough fight.
Yeah, Garlyle has a few options for quick checks. Doing this one that he's verifying right now, the Odin location. Can also go into the underwater Walls Tower, since he's got the submarine key, and that's just a single boss, a fairly straightforward run. Though it is a single boss at 46,000 HP, very high. So it could be dangerous.
Yeah. I would say that
Gogo's location.
Some interesting divergence happening here. Garlyle is going for quick checks, which the Odin location is pretty quick. But meanwhile, Francois, I think, wants more loot, and so has chosen the Island Shrine because there's a lot of treasure that you can get as you go in. But it takes a little while to run through and get all of that. So I think the spectators are entertained here by this. This has been a little bit of a suffer race.
Bahamut at the Odin spot, but that's not so bad. It's actually a fairly low HP location, so despite my initial reaction, it's actually a pretty easy fight there.
Yeah, better than Twintania's spot.
Better than Twintania's spot. It's probably a bit of a sigh of relief from Garlyle.
Excuse me. Francois has to defeat the Sandworm just to enter the Island Shrine here. Doesn't really do much for him. Although it does give pretty good experience, and he needs the levels, so probably won't complain about that. No key item. It's just a gate boss. All of the tablet areas have a boss guarding them. In vanilla, it's the gargoyles, but what has happened in the randomizer is that some of these summon fights have been shuffled into the boss pool. So Ramu, Shote, and Gargoyles,
Golem.
and Golem are bosses in the randomizer, and there's only one appearance of Gargoyles instead of 4 like in vanilla, which adds really nice variety. Ooh, a nice find with the mix ability for Francoise. He didn't bother to train up Chemist before, so that's kind of nice.
Ooh.
And
Mega Flare,
Dragoon
but-
survives with Shell. Look at this Lena surviving a Mega Flare.
Not too bad. And then the
And of course,
other
Ferris was in the
Dragoon
air for the finish.
had the high ground, and as we've learned from the Star Wars movie franchise, and the high ground definitely gives you the advantage.
Okay, so that's an Ifrit's Fire for Garlyle. Probably not what he was looking for, but it is a key item check, and the Mirage Raider is a key item because it unlocks the not only Mirage Town, but also the Bahamut check in World 3. So if you're fishing for Mirage Radar, this is a pretty quick and easy check to do. Probably the quickest one available at the moment. Someone in chat mentioning that Francoise must have just found ×6, which is nice because you can spam meteors. And one nice thing about meteor is it does not care about your magic stat. You can be any job, and it's just
And meteor
RNG
is not
rolls
reflectable.
on how strong the meteors are. They're also not even affected by level, so meteors just roll the dice, and usually a pretty strong one.
Yeah, so it's a good solution to that necrophobia. Well, it is a solution to the necrophobia problem, because it can unfortunately target necrophobia himself multiple times and just waste your meteors.
But it's not a bad. I mean, it's not the best option, but it's not a bad option. It's something that you could try if you put ×6 on everyone. It might work. It might work out actually. And there's Golem.
It's in your favor at the beginning, right? Like when there's 4 out of 5 targets.
Absolutely, yeah. And then it becomes more frustrating as the fight goes on. There are fewer targets, but in general, not a terrible idea.
At this point, it's basically his only solution that he's got. And as you can see, the power of Meteor right now, solid damage on that invisible.
Yeah, this is an annoying enemy, so you're happy to try and meteor it down quickly. Lost Tower Key, another check. We're chasing a chain that we know doesn't lead to anything too special. We just need something decent. Namely that Mirage Radar. I feel like it's got to be what Garlyle's looking for. And he knows that the Google suit is in World 3, and so I mean this is a World 1 check, and it's quick. He's doing it because it's quick, and that's as good an approach, I would say, as what Francoise is doing as well. They're both rolling the dice, just in sort of different ways.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys brought this up before, but so there's like 20 key items or so, but there's somewhere in the realm of 40 bosses, or maybe 35 or so before you get to the void that not all of them are going to have key items, but some of them are, and then the others that don't have key items are going to just give you like a quote-unquote good item for the area. So it's not like it's guaranteed that Titan here is going to give a key item, but it's at least a chance.
I mean, that's what we're... Garlyle is oh my gosh, and there's the Mirage Radar. Wow.
That's a
Prepare
nice
yourselves
sigh of relief.
for a shopping spree. Mirage Village. This is nice because we get to see a lot of the seed for people who are new. But yeah, Mirage Town is the best shopping in the game, and it has a lot of shops. And Garlyle is going, almost guaranteed, that he's going to find things there that will help him finish this seed relatively quickly. It's that good.
Doom Black Magic was found.
Interesting.
I think there's an argument to be made that maybe this area should be nerfed or distributed somewhere else among some other key items somehow, because it's very, very good.
Yes, I like the I like that it's now gated. It used to be that Mirage Radar wasn't even a thing, and you could just go there as soon as you had World 3 access. So I'm glad that you gated it behind a key item. But it's hard to figure out what the best way to distribute the best items is, you know, right? It's like some people say, oh, I found Google suit. It had so much amazing stuff in that village, it was too easy. And so it's hard to say, but for now, I think for the most part, people are happy with how it is. And
level 3 flare available in the Mirage shops. Level 3 flare is now probably one of the better options for end games. Well, one of their options, as well as Summon 4 that people are chat is saying. Level 3 flare
something that
can be
Mal
used.
and I prefer, at least. I'm not sure how many other people are familiar with the level 3 flare strats, but yeah, Garlyle doing some shopping here. Wants to be powerful for necrophobia. You're looking for, hey, look at that, turtle shell's buyable in the shop. That's a recent change to the randomizer because Drain Kiss was so powerful. We thought people were relying on it too much, and we asked Clear Tonic to increase its tier. It's not even guaranteed to be sold in this shop, but at this point, with Chemist and the ability to buy turtle shells, I might buy a bunch of those and try and basically keep my hit points up high by using that against the barriers.
Garlyle buying a Mystic Knight.
Kind of paltry here, though.
I'm sure there'll be enough good stuff available in this town that Garlyle will get some stuff to get him through. Francoise, what's that? 2 resets so far. Fighting Odin in the shrine. Not a ton of hit points there, but I think maybe having to rely on good sword dance luck to get through without dying. Because True Edge hurts.
There's Breakblade. So
that.
with Mystic Knight Breakblade, you'll be able to take out those pesky barriers. However, that means it does take at least 2 turns to set up a kill.
I don't think we have anything like running shoes yet, and we also don't have Masamune, which those things might you faster turns.
Yeah.
Mystic Knight is pretty fast on its own.
It's going to be opting to go with Mystic Knight as well as the Summoner. So the Summoner with X Magic will be able to do some good work on those barriers, but they would have to survive the initial onslaught of flares and holies.
Thank you for the info from chat that we do have a Masamune, but no way to use it, so we don't have a Samurai or equipped katanas. But I just say Garlyle having Mystic Knight and Samurai, those are 2 of the best jobs in the game for getting to the end. I don't think he's going to have too much trouble against Necro. I mean, it's still a tough fight in that spot, but if you go maybe 1 and 3 or 2 and 2, looks like he's going 1 and 3. Now we have Golem, we also have Shote, and we can use him. We can use these things. It makes Necro so much easier now. Both phases, not just the barriers, but also the part where you need to fight Necro himself should go pretty smoothly. Someone in chat, our friend IB Karma, saying, what about learning Big Guard from the water around Sunken Walls? That is a huge time sink because that is a 1 in 16 encounter to get the Stingray. And then you have to beat the Stingray after you learn Big Guard 2, and it's got like 33,000 hit points. I think we can get by without that. I've had to do it in seeds with more difficult flags, but I don't like that in a race. I think it's just going to take way too much time. Francois is going to the Odin check.
Yeah, after finally defeating Odin, going over to his home and seeing what's there.
I missed what Francois got from beating Odin at the shrine.
A full
Did you
moon.
see? Oof, that's awful. Lots of good loot along the way, I'm sure, in the shrine itself.
Definitely.
Yeah, there's no manipulation to get Stingray in SNES, unfortunately. So if there was something like what Free Enterprise has, which is like, a siren that gives you the rare encounter in an area, we could do stuff like that more easily. But at the moment, we don't have a way to always get the rarest encounter. Maybe that would be something that a future development of the randomizer could do. It would open up some interesting strats, but I have no idea how viable it is as like programming option.
Hey, I just came back. Did I miss a question or something?
No, I was just sort of thinking out loud about the possibility of being able to turn on rare encounters. Like in Free Enterprise, I think the siren item gives you the rare encounter in a given area. And somebody was talking about like, well, if you could get guard from the Stingray, for example, currently it's a 1 in 16 chance, and it's really hard to even get that fight. But there are some interesting rare encounters in certain areas of the game that might be kind of fun to get advantage of in the randomizer at some point in future development.
Yeah, it's interesting. So in the same way that the warp shard triggers an event, I think you can. I think the short answer is like maybe, because I think you can trigger an arbitrary event with an item. So maybe there's some similar item like that.
Okay.
Ooh.
That would be something interesting to look into.
Garlyle choosing to Phoenix down. Yeah, maybe regretting that mistake.
Necro fight didn't go according to plan. Yeah.
No, but in his place, I probably would have used the X magic to summon Phoenix, raise my 2 dead members back up from death, all the while doing some damage to the barriers, as well as the other summoner being able to do double Sildra.
Mm-hmm. I think that the problem here is that he doesn't have a great sword for Mystic Knight, so he doesn't want to use 2 Mystic Knights, even though they're faster and they have more hit points. And the summoners are just borderline on surviving a single spell from the barriers. Things need to go fairly well at the start of the fight for him to get into shape. I think your Phoenix idea is a good one. Also, I think the white ability is on someone, and if it allows life 2, you can bring someone back at full health. I would even consider turning down the battle speed here so that you can get a turn or 2 in before the barriers. Swaz likes to play on battle speed 1, which I think is a disadvantage for a lot of the randomizer. Battle speed is still a funky thing in this game, but in general, there's a longer, the higher number is a lower battle speed, and it adds more delay to the first enemy action. It's nice to get in first a lot of the time by playing on a little bit lower battle speed, although battle speed 6 seems too slow. I think there's some game lag that happens or something when you use that, but 5 is a nice player-friendly speed. And default is 3. I saw Francois turn his battle speed up to 1, which is something you might do in other Final Fantasy games, but in this one, I don't think that gives you very much of an advantage in very many fights. Francois is going to grind some prototypes to get dark matters, I think, and use the potion mix against necrophobes barriers to kill those. Interesting strategy, and I think it's a good one because or mixes, and those barriers are guaranteed to be dead, and then you just focus on Necro after that. This will not take long. One Sword Dance kills a prototype. They have 5,000 hit points, and you get guaranteed dark matter every time you kill one.
Yeah, so this note about... So there's a command. So I created a custom command so that when you're in battle, you can do a key combination that just petrifies the whole party. Instant party wipeout. Allows you to go back to the title screen.
Thanks for explaining that. I didn't see that people were asking about it, but it's nice, handy button combo, soft reset. Garlyle still working on getting through this Necro fight. Still having a bit of trouble considering his team. I thought it would be a little bit easier. Putting Shell on to have the damage is great.
Well, I think the problem is now he keeps trying to use Phoenix Downs to raise instead of at this point just do the damage and take the MP cost of the Phoenix and try to eliminate some targets.
One point very early in the seed, I did see a gold hairpin. I don't know if we still have it, but it's worth
It's equipped on
hanging
Lena
on
at
to.
the moment.
Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, only one person can wear it, and you can't predict who might go down, but I think this is another reset, unfortunately. Fiery Blizzard, what is it? The key button combination. Yeah, that would be great to have that soft reset button combo somewhere on the wiki. That's a good idea.
Yeah, I have no idea why Gar is not using Phoenix. Maybe did he not grab it, or did he forget the raise component?
Quick grind here. Iron Giants give the most experience of any enemy in the game, but you do need to break blade them. So you need to put break blade on first before you swing, because they counter and it hurts. But don't use Shout because they've got a lot of magic evade. I think Garlyle is a little tilted at the moment, is forgetting some of the basics here, but that would have been a helpful to take. And there's also other enemies in this Void Castle that give a lot of experience that he could kill pretty easily with stuff like Sildra. The other encounter that you can get is Dancers, and I think they're called Death Claws, and they're actually pretty easy to beat. They're weak to level 3 Flare, or just like Sildra might be enough to kill them in one shot. So here comes Francoise coming back with a plan to Death Potion mix the barriers. Let's see if he can pull it off execution-wise. I'm worried about his battle speed for that fight. Do not think he's getting in first. And he's going to have to eat, all those barrier spells. So that could be a problem, but maybe he will adjust either beforehand or afterwards and make it work. Okay, Garlyle again, taking on Necro. Trying to fit the Cure 3 in between flares. This is possible, and he might have actually done it, but I can't say for sure. I've never been reliably able to pull that off. Between the 4 turns of the barriers, sometimes you can get a turn in yourself. They basically have all the same speed, so you're basically just blindly trying to jump in the middle of their queue. I don't think that's really the way that you want to try and win.
Gotta say, for a final, they're really making our runners work for it.
Yeah. I wonder if. I mean, it's entertaining. I hope to everyone watching. I'm entertained by it. I don't like to necessarily see suffering, but I do like to see, some of the jobs and strategies and things that you might not see in a typical race. And I think we're seeing lots of back and forth between the runners as well, so it's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to reply to chat, I do feel that Garlyle now is panicking, is rushing, and is forgetting the tools that he has in play. But there's a bit of also him just never entering his summon menu. Perhaps if he just opened it and saw it again, be like, oh yeah, I can do that. But right now he's just hoping to attract the flares onto the Magic Knights, which can survive a hit. Oh, Aegis.
The Aegis shield blocks coming in clutch.
See. So this might be it. This might be the go for Lena taking a death.
Yeah, that roll's probably going to kill her. Yeah. Unfortunate, but I think he can recover from this. Like you said, Mel, if that summon menu gets opened, and he'll be like, oh, I have Phoenix. That could help. How about our magic sword blade? I haven't seen that done. Francois did a reset as well. Let's see if he makes any changes.
All right, Shell going.
Like
Shell going on to Charla when really should have probably gone on the summoner, which is the one that keeps biting, eating dust.
Yeah, getting really lucky though so far. Lena has not been targeted at all by the barriers. That's a little bit random.
Well, she not since her resurrection, but we'll see after that. We've done the round of multi-target attacks. Next is the AoE.
Garlyle definitely taking his time here to buff everybody up fully, and that should work out for him pretty well in the long run. Seems slow early on, but you want to be sure you can pull this off.
Thunderstorms.
Okay, so Sildra doing really nice damage here. Probably 2 rounds of Sildra from Lena can take out these barriers. The X magic being used. Ooh, using the magic flare. That's a smart move. You've got Bahamut and Leviathan that aren't that important later. That you can use here to take out the barriers. There you go.
There it is.
Okay, and yeah, Necro is weak to all elements now, so you just want to do elemental damage. If your golem isn't up yet, you really need to get it up though, because he will hit like a truck.
Preparing an eye drop for his Magic Knight.
Saw has 1 person up, used a death potion mix, but it is not fast enough. I don't think this is going to be good enough unless there's some sort of elemental shield strat. Nope, just a quick reset. As I mentioned before, Francois's battle speed is just too high, but I think you're probably going to turn it down right now. Ooh, warping out of the void. Second time for Francois. That is a huge development because Garlyle looks like he can get through this Necro fight. Not only does Francois need to get through it, but he needs to find whatever he thinks he needs, run all the way back, and then get through it. So, big development in the race here. That's a big potential time loss for Francois.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish that he had turned down battle speed, because I think that his plan would have worked if his team had been. It's not that your team changes their speed. It's actually just that you make enemies slower by turning down the battle speed. Is basically how it works. Holy Spellblade should be doing great damage to Necro. It's just that our Mystic Knights don't have the greatest weapons. I think we're looking at a Guardian and an EP on these Mystic Knights, which is not at all their best weapon. Hey, at this point, you've got Golem, you've got MP to cast it. Should get through Necro. Deep into his script, he can use Doom against you. But there it is. Very hard fought victory, Garlyle. It's past.
It took like 40 minutes.
That's
yeah.
That's
That was
quite
very
a bit of
rough.
stress. That must be a big relief right now, getting through that fight and still not seeing your opponent having done a GG yet. You probably suspect that they're struggling just as much as you are on that encounter.
Who's left? We got Leviathan.
Did we see Siren?
Yes, we've seen Siren.
Okay. We've seen Shout.
Seen Shout. Think.
Just gonna use famous last words. Probably nothing too bad up here, but Leviathan would be quite a headache at Twintania's spot.
I think Leviathan is sort of the worst option. We do have Mystic Knight now. I'm not sure if we have Bolt 3 Spellblade.
Oh, thank goodness. That's one Phoenix down away from victory.
That's quite the relief after all that.
For the freebie, yes.
That must feel real good if you're Garlyle.
We're still probably going to just, loot these final few void checks because I don't think we have a great fast fight finish quite yet.
Well,
set up for us. We
the
haven't
Sildra
found...
options. Yeah. Sildra option would be
yeah, that's a good one.
Solution.
Level boost and then spam Sildra, and you can even do the elemental power mix to boost it, and you'll probably do close to 6,000 or 7,000 per Sildra, and then you can magic it too. Yeah, at least on some people, so that'll work. But you don't. The only thing you worry about in that case actually is running out of MP. But I think if you go like all summoners with good secondary abilities, you won't run out before you win. You'll be doing plenty of damage once you open up.
I'm guessing they'll likely keep. Well, I didn't see the setup actually. I don't know if he set up anything. If he just kept everything that he's already had, but you'd probably want to keep a Mystic Knight for the Break Blade for the back. You're going to use your Magic Lamp another 2 times to get Leviathan and Odin out. Then you just have to worry about the 2 parts. Probably Blue Magic to stunlock the Dragon part of Neo Exdeath.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we have Mind Blast available. You're right, though. I don't think Garlyle has done any setup. Might just do it right before the fight.
So they're actually Garlyle's actually in a pretty good spot right now. Yeah.
This is a doable, very doable level to try and take on the final boss. It's not a free fight, but it's somewhat free. To someone who's as experienced as Garlyle, it shouldn't be a problem. The only thing you worry about at this point really is how stressed he is point in the race. And just making a mistake. That's really the only way it could go bad, I think. Okay, so Francoise has found Mirage Radar and is shopping in Mirage, so is going to get plenty of great things, but is pretty far behind at this point, just because resetting twice out of the void is never going to help you go fast, and that was very unfortunate. Necro in the void is probably one of the biggest walls to just about everyone who plays this randomizer, and you have to know a lot of the tricks of the trade to get past that sometimes.
All right, so we've got a Mystic Knight, dual summoners, and a Bard with time magic. on Garlyle's side. So we're going to have some mix strats to get Life Shield up on the last 3 characters of the list, because the Mystic Knight has the Aegis Shield to protect him from that white hole. Haste coming out from the Bard and probably the Heroic Song. Or perhaps the Speed Song. I didn't notice if they had the Heroic Song, but... and then just lightly some Sildra attacks from the X-Magic summoners. Is what I suspect.
This is a really good setup for Garlyle. See speed, but I do not see hero, so he's probably going to take the extra time to use mix to get everybody's levels up, and then at that point, max level and max speed, fight is basically over. Ted and Ned are what the nicknames that we call Tree X Death and Neo X Death. Barely going to be able to get in a turn once this buffing is done. Ooh, the elemental power mix on Lena, very nice. That powers up your Sildra, so it does 50% more damage.
Yeah, it's really good game knowledge. It's tough to keep track of all those recipes, but it essentially acts as if you're holding a rod of the proper element.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and you can even buff the water element with that mix, which is not possible through any other means in the game.
Just to address chat, yes, your buffs do carry over from Ted and Ned, so you want to apply as much as you can. The Mystic Knight will likely pre-cast Breakblade, and we'll just get an easy last boss.
The Life Shield mix protecting against White Hole is really useful here because while the tree, a White Hole is really annoying from the tree, but you're basically just negating it, and then it doesn't really do anything else except basic attacks until its hit points are below 30,000 and out of a total of 49,000. So you just sit here and you buff, and Golem blocks the attacks, and Life Shield and Aegis Shield blocks the White Holes. X-Death can't do anything to you. Meanwhile, your stats are going up. Your level is going to 99, your speed is going to 99 with the song. And then when it's time to actually start unleashing your attacks, you're going to do a lot of damage real fast.
Now, I might have missed it, but
chat. Sorry, go ahead, Matt.
No. I was just going to say I might have missed it, but I don't think I saw Garlyle cast slow on Triax Death. So could have taken a bit of more one more round to cast slow on it, but unfortunately his time magic user is currently busy singing and will be doing so likely for the rest of the battle.
In a way, when you have 99 speed and haste status, it probably isn't even necessary, but it is a nice safety thing to slow down the tree even more so that there's no chance that it meteors you at low health. But someone in chat did ask if X-Death can run out of NP from casting White Hole, and the answer is yes, but it would take a really, really long time. Like, it's not really a race viable strat. I don't know the MP total off the top of my head, but I have magic hammered him down to 0 MP in the past, and it took quite a few magic hammers, which chops his MP in half each time. Okay, so someone else in chat, 30,000 MP. White Hole costs, I think, 99 MP. So it would take quite a while.
All right, we've got Garlyle ready to lay on the attacks. He's going to want to try to take that out as fast as possible before X-Death starts countering with meteorites. But did he just cast Holy Sword on himself?
Missed it. Might have to fix that later. You can actually, if you're max level and fast enough, you don't actually even have to worry about Almagest either. You should be putting out so much damage that your Sildra will kill the Almagest part before it goes off too. As long as Lena has enough MP and doesn't run out, all of these X-Magic Sildras, she can probably kill that, and you don't even have to worry about getting hit with Almagest. One
question.
thing that's... Yeah, go ahead.
What is
WHY.
What is void?
You know, I didn't think about it until just now, but there is this glitch in the game called Mix plus X Magic. I don't think it'll be relevant here, because Lena is just spamming Sildra, and the targeting for Sildra is the same every time. But when you have Mix and X Magic going in the same fight, and after you've done one Mix, it does miss the targeting of some other spells. I don't think it'll be a problem, so I'm not going to mention it any further here, but there are potential problems, as Clear Tonic knows. And that's from vanilla. It's nothing about the rando. That's just a vanilla bug that exists and that people should be aware of if they're playing this. You can look it up online. All right, so here we are. It's Neo X Death time. Garlyle has put Breakblade back on his Mystic Knight, and we are going to see some big damage numbers, as we saw in the previous phase, out of these X-Magic Sildras, or just even single Sildra uses.
Opting to Magic Lamp first.
Well, we'll get the back killed by Odin that way. That works. It almost doesn't matter that much at this point what the order of your turns is, because your turns are coming so fast. You're getting many turns before Ned gets any at all. So not worried, at least not yet, for Garlyle here in this fight. Francois is back in the void, making his way back to Necro. Did some grinding or I should say farming, I guess, for items back in the main world. And I'm really hoping that he will be able to beat Necro this time, so that we can have a little discussion maybe at the end of the race, and he'll be able to join in on it.
So pretty standard. It's just going to be a spam of the... Ooh. Vacuum wave taken out.
There's only one left. That's why that happened. It was a double turn, and the last piece got extra attack, and both of them hit Lena, which is, so fitting.
And there's the flash. That's GG for Garlyle, with an official time of 2 hours, 45 minutes, and 18 seconds.
What a rough time that was.
I just want to point out that in the time in the racetime.gg, Garlyle did say at around 4:30 when he was fighting Necro, "I'm going to tilt so hard I will fall off the earth." But luckily he kept his cool. He kept his cool, made it through to the end, and came through with a victory. We do have a forfeit on FrancoiseHarpie's side, putting us at the end of this fight, at the end of this tournament.
And we are joined by Garlyle, and Francois will probably be getting the link and using it to join us shortly as well. GG to you, Garlyle.
If not for the fact that I've already karma, I would swear vengeance on him for this seed. I have had so many of these runs where either as commentator or racer, I have mentioned that the one thing that would grind the seed to a screeching halt would be Twintania at the end of the void, or Necrophobia at the end of the void, and here it was.
And here
Yeah,
it
maybe
was.
this was karma's revenge on you for beating him. I don't know if there was, I assume it was all above board, just a random roll, but yeah, that was really, really rough. How did you feel
So-
about the seed in general up to that point?
It looked okay to start, like dropping Ragnarok into my lap and a hint for a second tablet. I'm like, okay, this should be fine. Little did I realize it was going to throw nothing at me I could use.
Yeah, the jobs were extremely limited until you finally found a way to buy more. And yeah, even though you were able to get through things, you probably never really felt powerful until the very end.
Yeah, I was going into that void going like, I have no plan for Neo X Death. I have mix, so I have levels, but I have no plan. And eventually, when Necrophobia showed up there, I'm just like, fine, we're going for the Moogle suit, or we're going for the Moogle radar. It's out there somewhere. Just
Yeah, and finding that Mirage radar definitely paid off for you, giving you access to a lot of tools, Breakblade, the Summoner job, and giving you the capabilities of defeating Neo X Death.
Yeah, we were three of us here in the commentary booth. Clear Tonic is with us and has been since the beginning, and we were all worried about, sure you want to go in the void now? I was in support of anyone who likes to go into the void early, because I kind of just like to dive in on faith. The void will provide solutions. But both of you had to warp shard out, and in fact, Francois warp sharded out multiple times. A really tough time with Necro as well.
yeah, the further that the seed got, I just started being like, okay, either Francois is about to finish and has just had bad luck finding the tablet, or something like is horribly wrong.
Yeah, it's hard to know how to feel, because I imagine you both probably felt like you were behind, but then you're like, well, I haven't been given anything very good, so my opponent should also be struggling, right?
Theoretically, I know there's a couple early chests in like Ball Castle and Tycoon and stuff that I've just gotten into a habit of skipping because I can never remember where they are. And I was a little bit worried, like, wait, what if something important wasn't one of those?
Yeah. One question that we did have while you were fighting Necrophobia, and like your first attempt after returning from Mirage, where you had set up with 3 summoners and your Mystic Knight. Mystic Knight unfortunately taking 2 hits, and the summoner, one of your summoners dying, the other one surviving. You had the capability of X-Magicking Phoenix to get your entire party up, but throughout the entire time you opted not to. Is it just because at the time you forgot about Phoenix's capabilities, or you were just worried about MP?
Oh yeah, Phoenix is party-wide revive, isn't it?
Well, it's a single
Yeah.
target, but with X-Magic Phoenix, you would have been able to damage and raise 2 of them.
It might have helped. I think the big thing is just that like Necrophobia is very, very fast, and that is a problem. I was kind of relying on getting a setup where I got RNG enough to like have people healed and start getting up shell and have people hasted and stuff after the first volley in order to actually launch, basically.
Yeah, your switch to 2 Mystic Knights with Aegis shields, in the attempt that actually got through, I think those shields blocked some spells and did help you sort of get over the hump.
Yeah, I knew I would just probably need to take a couple swings at it until RNG, and I realized, like, wait, I probably only need the 1 summoner, like, so it was just a matter of finding that balance and pulling through. I won't lie, though, between that and actually dying to Atomos like an absolute noob, there was a couple points where I just sat down on the seat and I'm like, do I want to do this to myself?
Well, I'll speak on behalf of the viewers. We were greatly entertained, and so if that makes you feel any better, we appreciate that you suffered through that for us. And I mean, even Atmos was not easy. He decided to cast slow 2 on you and such, which is pretty rare. And
Yeah, and that before
some bad luck moments. Yeah.
Yeah, and that on the first run in a long time where I haven't had haste access in forever.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes when you practice and certain things don't happen, then do happen in a race and you're just not quite ready. Sorts of tendencies can develop, and some of them might be good and some of them might be bad in terms of the decisions that you make in the race. But it was a good time. It was a rough one, but let's talk about the fact that you've made basically the ultimate comeback arc at this point. You have lost to Freddy, and I think it was like the second round. Then come back all the way through the winner's bracket. You've played a bunch of matches. You've played like 7 or 8 matches now. Whereas Francois, this is his 5th. And you have now, I want to say you have 7 wins and only 1 loss. And you have forced a deciding match tomorrow.
Yeah, I got kicked down to losers early enough that I have not had a single week off this tournament.
Yeah, you've been very busy. You are the people's champion, and you have completed. Well, let's not say completed. You have almost completed the full comeback. And if this suffering wasn't enough, you get to do another seed tomorrow.
Oh boy! Oh boy!
Almost suggesting that he was going to try to make tomorrow's seed a Stalker, Halley, and Necro at Twintania. Harpie saying, "Oh no, you don't."
I was about to sit here and be like, "Yeah, bring it on. It can't be worse. It can be worse. It can be worse. They'll find a."
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to go fast here, so you're not necessarily checking everything. It's easy to miss something, and that can burn you later. Francois was trying to do potion strats against Necro's barriers to take them out that way. As you mentioned, Necrophobia and the barriers are really fast, and it's hard to get in ahead of them without running shoes or something like that, right?
Yeah, I was just happy that I somehow managed to scramble together enough levels to have surviving the initial volley be a possibility.
Yep. Another thing I was thinking of is even trying to catch like those wind dragons in the skywalk area of the void. Try and release those against the barriers, but you need to get 4 of them off though. So it's probably not good enough.
Not good enough, but it absolutely crossed my mind at one point.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's. I think what you did was the better move, just because of speed. It's just too hard to get in first and have 4 people survive to get through that first phase of the fight.
And we're joined here now with FrancoiseHarpie. Francois, GG. That was a tough one.
You don't say. Well, I'm not even salty. I'm just spiteful.
Yeah, that was just a really rude Necro location.
Yeah, definitely. From this seed, how were you feeling? Let's say going up into X-Death's castle. Did you feel like you were ahead of the game, or were you behind?
I felt far behind.
Interestingly enough, when you reached X-Death's castle, you were both going up X-Death's castle at the same time, but when you went up, you were already technically in go mode, and Garlyle was still short one tablet. And so you were both fighting X-Death, but unfortunately you had a bit of struggles with X-Death. A few, one or two resets for that battle. How did you feel about that fight?
Actually, in that seed, there's no boss I did easily. Every boss has put up a good fight against me. But that X-Death, actually, X-Death started to tilt me a little bit.
I do remember it took you multiple tries to get through because your team was a little weak.
Yeah.
You had
lack of luck on the soul dances, obviously.
Yeah, you had to rely on your sword dances to hit and your jump with the holy lance, holy spear. It was just it was a difficult fight. At that point, Garlyle had taken a few more fights, so was I believe about 3 or 4 levels higher, giving him a bit more survivability. So that was a little easier.
Yeah, I would say jobs were hard to come by, or at least good jobs were hard to come by in this seed. How many jobs, Francoise, do you think you had at that point? Maybe only 3 or 4, or maybe less.
I guess 4.
3.
I guess 4. There was
okay.
red ninja dancer, and I think that's 3 because I didn't get hunter at the time.
Yeah, Dragoon, right, too, because you have the Holy Lance. Yeah. I think Garlyle had even fewer at that time. Yeah, he had Chemist, which he wasn't using at the time. And
Chemist, Dragoon, and Beastmaster, and that was it.
Yes.
Yeah, there was Beastmaster. That was a starting job.
That was the starting job, yeah.
True, yeah. So Francoise decided to buy and use some of those other jobs, but they weren't super helpful. I mean, Dancer is a bit of a RNG role that can pay off at times. And the other ones were, Red Mage broke a light staff. I mean, these are not the biggest contributions. Yeah.
This was his sole job.
Yeah, so anyway, though, Francoise, because you have finally lost a game, that means we have another match between the two of you guys tomorrow.
More entertainment.
Yeah, more entertainment, even more hype than today, I guess you could say, because now we have one true deciding match to go before the tournament wraps up. And so I guess I'll just mention to everyone who's watching that it's going to happen at the same time tomorrow, which is 2 p.m. Eastern time. Sorry, 8 p.m. 2 p.m. Eastern.
It was 2 p.m.
time.
Eastern.
Okay. And it's going to be a different crew on commentary. We've got staff to handle all of it. And we definitely look forward to being here again on SpeedGaming. They've given us great support in the second half of our tournament here. And does anyone have any final thoughts that they want to add? Well, let's thank Clear Tonic for stopping in and staying the whole time.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to be here. So, right, I think it's really great to see this in 1.0, have a big race tournament, and really excited about the future that you guys put on here. I am, I'm a kind of a developer that kind of checks in and out for this game, but I'm very supportive and happy to implement, kind of like new solutions and things for racing. And I come from a speed gaming background myself, and I very much kind of appreciate the aspects of racing. So whatever we can do to try to implement and create kind of cool new game modes or solutions or fixes or whatever, happy to do it. So keep up the good work.
Thank you very much for joining us and for giving your developer thoughts and insights. That was really interesting to have you. And so anybody who's interested in playing this, check it out on the Discord. You don't necessarily have to race. I mean, it's a lot of fun to play. There's all kinds of different settings that you can use to tailor things to what you're looking for. There is talk about doing another tournament in the future, but we won't go too deep into that yet. None of it has been decided. Instead, I will just say that we've got the final match of the grand finals tomorrow at 2 p.m. And thank you all for coming out and checking us out. And we'll see you next time.